good. Actually, life is good. Life is good. How about you?
I'm good.
Yeah. Kids and grandkids and what's all, everything.
And grandparents.
From what age to what age? Did you have grandkids? Or have they just all?
Yeah, I did have some.
I thought.
11.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, so you have, that's how that's. So you, yeah, yeah, we were there. Yep, yep. No, work-wise, as well as you can do, things are starting to head in a positive direction. So, changes like the state. Here's an example. I may or may not say something, but I don't know how much of the gym down in the past. They gave sort of increased maintenance. I don't wish that was per kid for us per year, but they were not maintenance. You don't catch kids that know what's going to happen. Because of the kid, that's so that's good. Yeah. So she's getting close to she's got school. Yeah, he played quarterback. And kind of got his business degree now. He's working great. He's got a good job. Kim's going to be a college football team. So he's got a squeaky clean dad. So he's got I think they got a lot of contracts.
Hear everything else that has to be said.
It's good to see you too. It's still.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hey, you, we can ask those questions. How are you? As soon as we ask the question.
I know, it's terrible.
And we say.
How's he doing? Isn't he?
But we can't think of our view or our opinion.
Telling me something. I tried to tell him that they didn't.
I don't care.
terrorized it.
I know, I started asking the question, I can see him go. I'm trying not to. It's hard. First time. I'm just hearing you.
Put it right on the cake right there. You have questions, don't see any.
At least, not with numbers, but the other numbers. Thank you. No problem.
Taking two drivers everywhere we go, we have to stay the night. I don't have any other ones. Good.
Yeah, we have. And there's a little bit of phrases.
So, there's one product that we're using here.
That's it.
She brought this The other thing, when they shut the steak just that's just very important. CrowdStrike, which is getting out to
Yeah, she started calls me or texts me. It comes down to keep
expected, quarantine it, they do the work. So I reached out to them, I said, hey, here's some we oversee these two postings. The one guy's like, well, I'm doing it because it's easy, not because it's I just need to know something.
Then what are you gonna do?
If not, we'll have to go to direction. Trying to get you that when he was kids last year, the staffers were like, okay.
I just have. That's why I Sure, just like. I need to do that because I know. Exactly.
We don't know what the intentions are.
I think it's, there is examples. They are.
Hey, hi.
They must be nervous.
Yeah, exactly.
Any guidance when they started that?
A few years ago. That's what's happening. Some troublemaker.
They should have. Teachers, people up there,
She's very busy.
Okay. $30.
Last board meeting, what are you gonna do? Are you staying for the summer and then going off to school?
So-
Or are you gonna get yourself set up?
So my plan is to so I'll leave the beginning of August. I'll stay here and work for the first 2 months and then
And you're not checking?
yes, yeah. And then I'll move in August 12th. So Yes, very exciting, but no, not from here, but I have a few friends that are going from here, so I'll have like some familiarity. So it won't be like obviously new people, but still have a few close friends. So I just didn't want to live with anyone that I like know, because I don't want to like get in a fight. Yes, and just kind of get out there. Yes. Yeah, so we'll see. I'm excited though. See it, and so I'm glad that like I have at least I think about like 5 that I know of. So I'm sure there's like plenty more too. So I'm excited and nervous and all the emotions. So yeah. Yes, of course, yeah. Yeah, just kind of get a breath of fresh air in a different area, so, yeah. Yes, yeah, I'm excited. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. There he is.
I said you got what I'm looking for. Stop.
So, if you go on, apparently this is a blank, and then the second one is one filled out, and it's on the district right?
District override, that means nothing to me.
Okay, so when you go into,
That's the last one.
So just to my drive.
right here, just scroll down, when you have this image, there's Google Drive, Keys and Forms, J, and then District
Keep something in place.
Anyway, yeah, old drive. So you go into the old drive, and then go in. I just searched it under here, but it was an HR one.
Okay.
And
I will, okay.
and they shaped.
Aren't just at a board meeting right now. What about you? Oh, wait, what is it about?
I can set them now already to okay.
Yeah, I want to know. Who did she tell that to? Are you kidding me? Let's just go drop off our stuff and be like, bye. That's so annoying. Text it to the group chat. Yeah, just call everyone. And then text the group chat, and I'll text the group chat. Tell me when you finish telling them, and I'll text the group chat. So what do you think? Or you can text that. Okay. Okay, love you, bye.
Next year she's on.
Happy to help.
for something that you're trying to do. And what you're working on.
And it's simple. Convert some of those so that we get- I did that.
Yeah, so I'll, no, I don't think anybody's She did say she wanted to share.
So that is right.
40 years I've been in this school. Thank you, you too.
Teacher,
A little bit.
Is this your mouth?
Yes.
Oh, you're so excused.
We're waiting patiently. Anybody know where Brian is?
Is this the night of your party too? The senior party?
I guess he had enough.
He had enough. I guess we're done. We have a quorum without him, so I guess we can get rolling.
No, we do, but it's
Roll,
like,
roll,
we
roll.
don't really do schools. Cause we go like we walk through the elementary school. That way, yeah.
Everybody look at their watches.
Don't have a watch.
All right, welcome, everybody. It is 6:07, and I'm going to call to order the UNT County School District Number 1 Board of Trustees Board Meeting. I need to go into the board meeting. All in favor, I need a motion.
So moved.
Second. I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Well, any opposed? Ayes have it. We're in session, so. Okay. Y'all join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. So I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve tonight's agenda as presented.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, we need to move on to our consent agenda items. And I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items. Items A, minutes, B, payment of bills, C, excess of the weight equipment at the Horizon High School, the sped-related service contracts, and the gas fee. 75, valuation, and approve HHS school-wide Title I plan.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second that motion.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I need to recuse myself from check 4813.
Okay. Any other discussion? None? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. All right, Mr. Thomas, we're moving on to presentations.
Chairman Peterson, members of the board, we're always trying to improve what we do for the board, and each year about this time we talk about different ways we can modify the agenda to make things better. Well, one of the things I thought is seeing our student rep up here, listening month after month after month, I just thought we're missing a pretty good resource. So I thought what we should do is every board meeting have a report from our student representative. And since this is Allie's last board meeting, we're going to start with her. So I've invited Allie to update all of us and what's happening in the district. Student Council President, Allie Sanchez.
Okay. Hi, Chairperson Peterson and the board. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Allie Sanchez. I'm the student body president for Evanston High School. So lately in the high school, we have just finished YTOP testing and ACT testing, and we're finishing up our AP testing right now. Some of our recent sports that's been happening is regional soccer. Sadly, we didn't get very far, but despite the bad weather this season, they had a pretty good season. Golf, they had a tournament in Star Valley on Friday, and they both teams, girls and boys, play second. And then track, they had a great regionals meet at Rock Springs, tons of personal records and placers, including 12 regional champions. And then we have some activities for the school happening. Today we had a school academic assembly that was to reward academic awards to those students. And then tonight there's a swing dance at the school ranch. And then next Tuesday we have an assembly to congratulate all spring activities. And then we have the chalk dance the last week of school. Of course, we have a ton of senior activities such as senior prank, senior sunset, senior party, senior breakfast, and of course graduation. So that's exciting. And then our school was also rewarded number 7th of high schools in the state of Wyoming by the U.S. News and World Report. So that's cool. And then to finish this out, I just wanted to say thank you for what you guys do for the school district, and I'm grateful to have been elected in this title of student body president to get the opportunity to know all of you. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, before you leave, yeah. So thank you so much. I think it is so awesome that we have the representation from the school up here on the board with us. So you've done a fantastic job. So you'll be missed.
Thank you.
So what's your future plans?
So in the fall, I'm planning to attend Utah Tech in St. George, where I will major in, right now, administration and education, and then minor in dance. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So I understand you had a few scholarships. Will you tell the board what your total is?
Yes. So I got the Eagles scholarships, which both added up to $800, and then the Taggart, which will be sent to my school. So they said that that'd be around $2,000. And then I got an scholarship from Utah Tech, which is 125% of in-state tuition. So instead of paying their out-of-state, I'll be paying 25% plus of their in-state, which is really good. And it's the cheapest school in Utah, so it will be nice.
Congratulations.
Yep.
Thank you.
And you just have a little plaque for Allie. It says Allie Sanchez Mackey, student representative, in recognition of your service to Union County School District Number 1. It should say, sat here for how many board meetings? And you had a smile on your face the whole time. So thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you.
Board meetings or boring meetings?
Little both.
We didn't quite hear that. We were trying to decide if you said bored or boring.
It was a mix.
It was a mix.
It was a mix.
There's some truth to that, yeah, most definitely. So thank you again. I guess we'll move on to the next presentation.
Chairman Peterson, members of the board, I'd like to invite to the stand Dan Mayer of Region 5 BOCES. It's always good to see Dan. Still, I'm pretty sure I'll tell you he shouldn't have left. He should stay here with us, but maybe not.
Maybe not.
Dan, time's yours.
Thank you. Nope, I don't. In your packet, I do believe you have the presentation and the mill levy request. I am here annually. For those, I am Dan Mayer. I'm the Executive Director for BOCES 5. Annually, we come out and provide a presentation. That presentation is anchored around mill levy request. And I know the board's appetite on the mill levy, so you're still a member district, and I want to update everyone on our progress on our goals moving forward. So I stand for any questions that you may have regarding anything in the presentation. I did submit my monthly update by hand. I didn't want to get things lost, but that's something new that we'll be providing to the board to maybe provide more of a, and it's tailored to each district, member district, so the information that may be like about Hayden Peak and the services that are closer to you will be featured. The only other thing I would like to mention before I really do stand for questions is that I have some good news that's not in there, and our efforts have paid off. And this fall, we had DFS meet, and we've been looking at the payment discrepancy between DFS and our school districts, and we were just a couple weeks ago notified that we had a significant rate increase per student through DFS, which would be for our DFS kids, it would bring in an additional $1 million of revenue just in our DFS kids, which is only 10 of them currently. And so I think whatever efforts any board members or anybody had in helping correct that issue, I think that has really helpful, and I think it makes those mill levy funds even less needed because we're having people equitably pay for the services that we provide up at CBRV residential program. That's hot off the press. So our budget will reflect that with our board members. I'm not even sure if Dan was aware of that, but when we present our budget, that's really positive news for us as an organization. And again, any district support that we had in making that a reality, because that's something that we've known and been working on since at least I was executive director for 8 years. Now I'll stand for questions.
I guess the one thing that, you know, like you said, there's been heartache in the past at that point too, on the mill and where it was actually going.
Yep.
You know, and one of the things that kind of jumped out was that $8 million that was going to go to your capital projects.
Yep.
And how much of that mill is going towards the capital projects that are out there? What percentage of our mill that we're putting for you is going to the seed RV, and how much is going to the capital projects, and how much is going to staff?
I can tell you 0 goes to staff.
Okay.
It can only go to capital projects, transportation, and like technology type of services. So the only salary that we conceivably would take out of there would be like a technology director. But no, all of our salaries are built through our fees. And so our mill levy is truly used for the capital projects that we have. And are restricted in that manner to us in statute.
Anybody else with any questions at all?
It should be automatically there.
Nothing? Crickets?
Yeah, crickets.
Okay.
Dan, thank you.
Yeah, I've presented to you lengthy times. I'm fine with that. If you do ever have any questions, you know how to get a hold of me. We thank you for your support in our programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that the last of our presentations?
Well, we have our budget reports.
Okay, yes, all right. Sorry. Down to item 6.
So
Department.
turn the time over to Jaron, Dennis for our maintenance report, and Jaron Dennis for our technology report. Jaron? Oh, you're already up.
He's working on technology. Thank you. Oh, there he is.
Good evening, Chairman Peterson, members of the board. Appreciate this opportunity to be able to talk a little bit about maintenance, facilities, and technology. So thank you for your time this evening. As always, just like to thank Superintendent Thomas, naturally you as members of the board, for the things that you do, your support of all the things that we're able to do as a department in maintaining the great facilities that we have. And we do have some tremendous facilities. I've naturally been across the state into lots of other high schools and stuff, and pretty proud of the high school that we have. It's almost going on 40 years old, and in some ways it looks like it's only about 10 years old. And all of our other buildings are much the same way, and that...
You do a little paint, though.
It does need a little paint. So, but I commend our custodians for the fine work that they do in making sure our facilities look the way they do, and especially the way our athletic facilities look. I'm always impressed to be able to host schools around, and I think we've got a great gym, great facility for that, so thank you. Just quickly talking about the accomplishments that we've had over 23-24. Quickly go through these. Naturally, we have a little bit of a water project behind the school. Our domes project, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute, but we're about 95% there. If you haven't had an opportunity to be up to the domes and would like to, please come up, visit with myself or Superintendent Thomas. They've got all the Mondo flooring done in the first dome, and by the end of this week, hopefully we'll have the turf down in the second dome, and it looks really, really nice. If you haven't had a chance to see the throwing area, I think a lot of compliments from that. It was a great place for us to be able to host our high school meet as well as our middle school meet, and talking to some of the coaches and some of the athletes, they really liked that whole complex and the way that turned out and looked, being able to be down in the track and field and then kind of take a little journey across the domes and then up top, and so it turned out really well. Davis Middle School carpet, redid that. The EMS gym was redone last summer. We put some modular awnings over our modulars at both Clark and Aspen, and then as we talked about last year, the security system upgrade, and then we did on the technology side, our access point upgrade, and what those are is basically our wireless access points that are in each building, in every classroom. Also worked on our EMS auditorium lighting. Some contract issues when that was originally put in. We were still fighting those, but I think we've resolved those. Right now, we'll cross our fingers. And in the process, these last couple months, we've been working with Train on the Aspen HVAC, getting those controls to our current status so that we aren't running two different control programs. So both Aspen and Davis. And then as Travis alluded to, the lift system out at Transportation, which they've been really grateful to have those lifts back and the things that they're able to do. And then we put in new door locks on all the inside doors at UNM Meadows. So a lot of different things happened during the 23-24 year. Again, just quickly, I know you've seen this before, but it just kind of gives you some numbers as to what kind of transpires when it comes to our warehouse, and then just some of the paper goods that we go through. And as you all know, paper goods haven't gone down in price, they've only increased in price, and so that's always a unique challenge for us. But some neat numbers that you're more than welcome to share. I think it's kind of interesting when you look at almost 1 million square feet that our custodians are cleaning every single day. So again, I compliment them for the things that they do. This quickly is some pictures. This shows you the Mondo flooring in that first, so you kind of get an idea there of the basketball court and then the track on the outside. Again, it's not a full indoor track, so we can't hold a competition, but it does at least provide an opportunity for our students to practice. That particular flooring there, the ones with the 3 lines in it, allows our student athletes to actually wear their spikes, which is really nice as well. And then the other floor surface is that Mondo type flooring that I showed you a couple months ago, and it's turned out really, really nice. So I'd invite any of you again to go up, take a look at it. It's turned out really, really well. Okay, projects coming up for this next summer into 25, redoing all the carpet at North. We're going to be redoing the gym lights, upgrading those to LED lights. New North cafeteria tables and a playground, as well as upgrading the North office. So a lot of time is spent at North. Naturally, as many of you know, North has been where we've traditionally held our summer school for years and years and years. And so we've closed summer school from North. We're transitioning that to Aspen so that we can do really a major upgrade, which will be really, really nice for the North students. Be redoing the gym floor at Davis, similar to what we did at EMS, so stripping that all the way down to the wood. They'll sand it and then repaint that, as well as the bleachers. So the original bleachers that were put in the early 80s are coming out, and we'll have bleachers similar to what's at the high school and what's at Evanston Middle School, which will be really, really good. And then our outside water loop project, which goes from Twin Ridge and Bodine, the backside of the high school, all the way to Cheyenne Drive. Another big project, and be starting June 3rd. The other pages that you see kind of in your presentation are just future projects so that you kind of see what's going on. And as you look at this, there's a lot of different projects that we have potential to spend money on. And with each one of those projects, it adds up. And so, as you know, from our major maintenance, we get about $2.1 million, and we will expend this year about $2 million very, very quickly. And so we assess those needs and see what needs to take place first, and then just kind of work our way through each of those, and that's how those projects are identified. That is my very quick presentation to you as a board on what we're doing. Do you have questions for me?
Actually, I do.
Okay.
So have we paid 100% to the people that did our dome?
No.
So how much money have we retained?
We retained our 10% because they'll be starting again next week. They've got some caulk seal and some other things to do, so.
No, I was just walking around there, and there was just some glaring things that jumped out.
Yes.
And I was just hoping we were not paid 100% to them.
We're not.
There's some obviously things that need to be addressed and fixed before we finally make a final payment to them.
Yep.
And hopefully you're aware of everything that is up there that is subpar.
We've got some things to work on.
We've got some things to work on that need to be fixed, right? So, you know, the other thing that I kind of looked at there, you asked if we went up there. I did go up there.
Good.
And the one thing on the north side of the, would be the east dome, we have poles that now go inside the middle of the sidewalk that I was assuming was going to be an ADA access to the second building. And now we have poles for the door that go out into the middle of that sidewalk. And so was there anything that we are doing to address the location of those poles? Are we going to redo the sidewalk around it? How do we, is your ADA now going around the backside, and do we have the access from the backside of that going into that second dome? There's some things that are up there. You know, the sidewalk on the one side, it's falling, collapsing. Some of the landscaping stuff that we have to do. Some of the angle iron that's around the outside. Looks like we've kind of spliced some areas that just don't look like a finished product. And I'm being harsh right now, right?
You're fine.
Because I'm having to deal with people on the overpass, and I'm not real happy, so.
So let me address.
So I'm taking out on anybody and everybody.
But we moved summer school.
We moved summer school.
That should make people happy. They don't have to
Make
go
people
to
happy.
overpass.
So let me address Chairman Peterson, just a couple of your concerns.
Okay.
Naturally, the angle iron was the angle iron, and so we had a choice, we could use the existing or we could purchase new. And we went with using the existing, and so there are some piecemealed with the way that is. It's not the most aesthetic, but it meets the requirements by our structural engineer. But we'll be actually covering all of that angle iron, because one thing we recognize is the water comes down, it seeps between the edges, and so we're actually going to be taking about 1.5 foot off of that ground, coming up and actually bringing some of the canvas all the way around, so that when the water comes off, it'll actually just slough right off onto the sidewalk and not get in. So
And
all of that
saves-
angle iron
And
will
are
actually be
sitting on our
covered.
ankle bolts that are rusting out on us
Yeah.
already, that have not been zinc coated or painted,
So-
so.
As far as the sidewalk and the ADA issues, all of that was in the plans originally. We knew that those braces were going to be there, and we knew the spacing. Working with Brent, he knew exactly kind of where those things are at with that. If we felt that we've met all of our requirements for ADA, and so that'll still continue as you come up the ADA ramp, come to the north, you'll follow that north side all the way to that second dome. It meets those requirements.
Okay,
So,
I will argue with that. I do ADA all the time, and it sits in the middle of a 5-foot sidewalk. You don't have clearances for it, so that's why I was bringing that up around the outside, if we need to extend that a little bit further out, just so we meet our ADA requirements. Okay, so.
but there are some other things that the contractor still, like I said, needs to fix. The sunk sidewalk. Landscaping is all on us. That was part of our deal, so.
And some
that'll be
anchor bolts that are
something
within
that we'll be due.
our drop inlets, there's some anchoring
Yeah.
issues down through there, so.
So.
Anyway, just, all I wanted to make sure is
We have
they
not
weren't
paid them.
100% paid.
Nope.
And we are retaining that money until we get things addressed that need to be
Yep,
fixed up
yep.
there, so.
Yep, they have not come back. When they left us in December, they have not come back, and I said, let's wait till snow's gone, that facility is ours, and then come back and we'll address those.
Okay.
So,
As an additional viewpoint, I have full confidence, Sharon, that you have that under control.
appreciate that, thank you.
So that was that. The other thing that would, kind of looking in there a little bit, I thought we were supposed to have 2 volleyball courts inside our gym. Do we have 2 volleyball courts, or we just have the one?
Just one.
Just have the one. We can tape off a second.
Why are we taping it off?
Why wasn't it done to start
$2.2
with?
million. Why are we taping it off?
So I had a conversation with our athletic director about this a couple weeks ago. The plans were shared with our coaches, the plans, not volleyball, the plans were shared with our basketball coaches, our track coaches, our PE teachers. Everything was shared probably 6 months ago when we were looking at that flooring, what things were to look like. And when push got to shove, we did not get both volleyball going the other way. And so,
Why were we not made aware of that? That wasn't how I understood it was going to happen. And now my understanding is we have pickleball and we have badminton.
you've got,
Never heard anything about that.
I will own that one. I talked to,
Is there any way we can
Portugal.
address or fix that so it's not tape on the floor?
I can visit with them.
Okay.
In terms of discussion with those guys painting the floor, and if you've been up there and seen it, or even the high school gym floor, there's a lot of lines. And it just goes into what we want to do. I'm afraid if we did tape the floor, the paint will probably come up, which I hate to see that happen. We can always add more lines, but is that sure what we want to do, to put those volleyball courts the other way?
Well, my question to you is, why did we build these?
Well, my answer would be to serve all of our student population, which includes our PE.
I agree.
And our PE
Would it-
does have units with.
For 2 weeks.
And
We have 2 weeks of maybe badminton and 2 weeks of pickleball. And we have how many months of
Sacrifice that.
volleyball?
That was my answer to the question. Is it does serve all populations. May not be exactly what some want. Well, it's one thing that we're pretty good at is if we need to modify, we can modify. But I do like the idea of putting 1-inch lines for volleyball courts. I don't know if that's even doable and have competitions. There's a competition volleyball court in there. That's
I know.
the expectations. We have another competition volleyball court that is potential even on the turf. So those are things that we'll probably have to work out as we go. Maybe a bad misunderstanding, but like I said, we involved everyone. And you guys have already seen it with our field house project. When you involve everyone, it gets kind of messy because things are changed and done, and to try to appease everyone, when you appease everyone, someone ends up not very happy.
I know, and I guess that's the thing, is if it's dizzying with the other striping that was on there, who decided on the priorities of the striping? Why was, the other outlines of badminton that's a 2-week period or session for PE and pickleball where you've got 4 kids participating,
And there are
or 8
badminton
kids?
courts in the gym already, but the decision was made by our director of facilities and his team. So that's the best way to go with that.
Okay.
We'll see how, I'm kind of curious to see how all goes, because right now, the standards, are we going to put them into the floor? Makes me a little nervous. We can do that now that it's drawn. Or are they freestanding volleyball nets? Those are things we still have to answer. The big thing is, we don't really have a lot of money for FF&E anyway.
No,
So,
I was going to say.
We'll have to see how that goes as we go along. But it would be nice to have additional volleyball courts so we can have a large tournament. To me, it would be nice if we had one in the other one too, and then we could have 2 competition courts and not have to worry about balls.
And that was a sports court that we had bought, right?
Yeah.
So, because we can handle basketball and volleyball off that sports court.
You probably have to hang some kind of netting system to prevent balls going between courts, which we do all the time, and so do other schools, but it's just another one of those things that we can study, decide if we want to make some changes.
Okay.
I did ask, well, why can't we go with single line strips? And they were hesitant. I said, they can't get them straight. And I'm like, well, whoever did the high school gym, those are
Pretty straight.
yeah. Single line tape. So anyway, we'll keep working on that.
Okay,
Apologize
yeah.
for the misunderstanding or the lack of information.
Yeah, and then just like I said, we'll just need to make sure that things are taken care of before we sign off on final acceptance of that thing, so. Because we did the big push and brought them in and paid them right up front so we could get into it, and then now we're into summer and we're still not into it. So was that the right route to go, or should we went the other route? Because we were, that was the whole big push of getting them started right away. And so.
So let me go back, Chairman Peterson. They were done. It was our flooring that was not completed. And so our students actually used those as early as January. Our flooring we had some hiccups with, and a lot of it was just our weather and not being able to actually physically get the flooring to where it needed to be.
Okay.
The timeline was originally and the flooring they were originally going to ship the flooring in February, and I had to tell them, I can't get the flooring in there. And so we had to push them back till March. March came when the Mondo came, and twice I couldn't get a truck. The semi-truck would not make it up the hill for it. So then we stored it at the high school for 4 weeks until we could actually physically get that flooring into those domes. And so those domes were ready. Students were using them. I know soccer, track used them for shot put. In fact, they actually hosted a mini meet for indoor, and so they were used by our student athletes from January 1st up till even today.
Okay.
So.
Well, and as far as the volleyball courts, I mean, if you were doing competitions and you had 2 courts in there, you would need a net to separate that. So that's gonna have to be something that we'll have to look at. If that is something we want to do, then we have to
As part of the FFE
Yeah.
stuff, you know, and
Yeah.
that, I mean, it's
Having
basketball
that
standards and
Right.
volleyball standards and whatever else we need to throw in there. But, you know, it's there in place when it
Right.
happens, so,
Yep.
anyway.
Okay.
Okay. All right, sorry to be
No.
so poignant.
I got a question.
Yeah.
On your major maintenance, what is your game plan for filling in the potholes around the district, especially the high school's terrible, and then that paint, the whole front, you know, is coming loose? I'm sure, I know you're aware of it, I just wondered if what your
So I
plan is
didn't,
down the road.
I just barely learned today, the contractor, so we've got a contractor coming in this summer to do some EFIS work on those panels, those
'Cause
red
you said
panels
you
up
couldn't
there.
paint 'em. It's a
Yeah.
film or something
Yeah.
that's on them.
Yeah, and
Well, we painted them, didn't we paint them last time?
they were painted once and the weather has worn them out. And so
Yeah.
what we're going to look at doing is actually a stucco, which is going to hold up much better.
So you gotta take the wood off, or?
That's part of their contract. They're going to do what they need to do.
Sounds good.
So it'll be a stucco. It will not be bright red because we know the bright red's going to fade to pink. So we're just going to do a neutral color
Good.
with those. Now the red on the far, I'm going to call it the north side, where our family consumer science area is, that will still be red because those are panels that actually have asbestos in them. And until we remove that asbestos, we don't want to do anything. And the same thing will be around the gym entrance right there. But both of those are still in really good shape. The paint's not peeling, and we're really good to go. As far as the potholes, a lot of those, a good portion of those are going to be addressed, especially coming up Red Devil Drive with the water project.
Yeah.
Others, we will be working with either Lewis and Lewis or Consolidated to do as many as we can based on the funding that we have. And so,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
All right. Anything else?
Jaron, the dome projects are unbelievable, really are. And if I could impose upon Mr. O'Neill, who had a former student come, who is a college football coach, come, and can you just kind of reiterate what he said about our facilities?
Yeah, Coach Papinga coaches at BYU. Ooh. We love Kelly and we love the Papinga family, but he was here on a visit and he wanted to see our facilities and he couldn't say enough good about the weight room we have, the gymnasium, the stadium, magnificent, and those bubbles. He couldn't believe that BYU gave those up to us because they could use them. But he says he has visited nearly every high school in the country, and we have as good facility as nearly anyone that he visits. And that says a lot to the work that you guys as a school board has done, Mr. Thomas and Superintendent Jaron Dennis. You guys have done a great job. We have nothing but glowing remarks for our facilities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And while you're talking,
Okay.
what about the donation from Brady? You wanted to expand on that just a little bit? That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Kelly and Brady, it's Kelly Papinga and Brady Papinga. They talked about giving something back, and I'm going to add to this story a little bit. They talked about their high school experience and the coaches that they had, the teammates that they had, the facility that they had, and how that impacted them to this day. And they wanted to give something back. And Brady has started his own weightlifting equipment company out of necessity through an injury that he received playing for the Dallas Cowboys. And so Kelly and Brady would like to help improve our weight. Even though it's magnificent, there's some things that Brady can offer that will help us, and they want to help us by donating some of those things to our kids. And so we're going to be state of the art because Brady actually just received the bid for BYU's weight room. So we're going to be right along with BYU. Not that I prefer that. But, we have some great people that were here in the past. They have nothing but great things to say about Evanston, past and present.
Thank you. Thank you, I didn't mean to beat up on you, just,
You're fine.
okay.
You're fine.
So, anything else? All right. Well, thank you.
Great.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
We could move on. Discussion items.
Chairman Peterson, members of the board, first item there is EHS and HHS. Graduation. 5:31 is Horizons graduation at 5:30, I believe. Is that right? 6? Oh, we want them at 5:30, so you tell them 5:30.
You guys be there at 5:30, they'll be on time.
So opportunity to hand out diplomas. Again, it's, if you haven't done it, it's a great experience. And same thing at the high school at 11? 10. Geez, I'm off.
On June 1st.
9:30.
9:30, there you go. An opportunity to hand out diplomas. So I know Krista's already expressed an interest. Handing out diplomas, I believe Joel has. Yep.
Sorry.
Handing out diplomas
I
at
would
high
like
school.
to, if we have certain people we can give them to, like the Rs.
You bet.
I've been asking since last summer to be on that.
Okay.
I would
So-
like,
You bet.
so that does happen.
Yeah, well, they'll walk right in front of you all the way across, so you can
You just switch if
Right.
you're not
Yeah.
in line
In
to.
line, yeah.
hand them and hug them, is what we call it.
Okay, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, we
So
can do that.
Krista, Joel, Janice, and Brian.
Yeah, maybe Joel, I spoke too soon, but if he
You,
doesn't, we'll make it. No, we'll just.
You get too many and they're walking over each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 is about the
That's
limit.
just about- yeah, that's
Because
max.
we will be outside on the stage, so 3 is great, 4 is great. You can work as many as you want in there, but Horizon is really enjoyable. Like I said, it's just a neat experience, both of them, so. Anyone takers from Friday?
I
Which
usually
works?
do it, but I have a graduation party for my senior.
Which works, because Doug and I enjoy handing those diplomas too, so we'll do it.
I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you. And the next one, district year-end of activities, we just have a list of the activities coming. Really enjoyed the awards assembly today, and I've been to a whole bunch of them, but it just kind of hit me, is the number of kids that were receiving recognition for success. And outstanding. I just was really impressed, so hats off to the high school. We did the all-A banquet, it's not a banquet anymore, a presentation the night before, and that went very smooth, thanks to Sherry and the planning, and again, the high school, hats off. It's just a neat recognition. So there's a lot of things going on. We've given that list so you can attend. Remember, Thursday is the retirement banquet in here. You're all welcome to attend, and goes fairly quick. We only got 5 retirees this year, so it'll go quicker, but you're all welcome to come.
Who's retiring again? With those 5?
Is there 7? Yeah, Merle is the only certified staff. And 6 support. You've got them all their names. Yeah, Edie Rhodes, Helen Bear from EMS. You have Marie McIntyre from EMS, Ruby Privet at the high school.
Ruby, huh?
You have a bus driver? Bus driver? You have not? So I'm missing someone, that's why I hate.
Mindy Dieters.
Yeah, Mindy Dieters, Nate, Luna Meadows will retire. I think we got a good group.
All right, anything on graduation? Have we covered it? What about you? What would you like to see? Brand new car?
Oh, yeah.
All righty, I guess we can move on to the next discussion item, end of year activities.
I was just gonna say, you've got a list.
Got the list on there, yep. But you don't want to read through that? Okay. No.
Take a walk.
Okay. All right, on to budget updates.
Come on down. You do have in your packet the annual budget statement. I think what's nice about the budget statement, as a past member of the board, makes it so much simpler to understand what we've done, where we are in the process, and what's coming in the future. But I'll let John explain it, and he's available to answer questions.
Yeah, as part of the annual budget, we try to get information as it's coming out, and some of it's hurry up and wait. And so the budget, we have the budget revenues. That kind of gives you the overall, here's what we're seeing from the state and what we're also, what's computing from the 100. And so I try to give you a breakdown of 23, 24, and the difference that I'm seeing in the 100 model, both off-model revenue. Probably one of the big things I see, there's a couple things. One is that we do get a state grant this year for the concealed carry costs, but there is a limit on that. So I don't know how many school districts are going to be applying for it. There right now is, I think, 4 or 5 districts that have concealed carry as a policy, but I could also see somebody sneaking in, let's say if they've got ALICE training. So there's a limit to that, but I've put in for the application, I volunteered to be the guinea pig for them. So they've got all our information. It's like, okay, July 1, we get that. The other thing is interest income. It's like, wow, it's huge. So that actually helps us on that. We do have one-time money with the bus lift, and we have to be really careful on that we don't put that into ongoing, identified as ongoing revenue. So we've consciously said, okay, that really replenishes the general fund for that, because it's not going to be there the year after that. There is some differences in special ed reimbursement. In the past, I just kind of targeted conservatively, and this year I kind of did a run through in which it's more flowing through, and I think it's still conservative in that. So then we had, there's a note on ESSER. There's here's what we were trying to do with the Battelle for Kids analysis. I think the big thing I see with the Battelle for Kids is we really have as state-of-the-art as we can make it for job descriptions, and we're trying to really hone in, are we trying to get to market? And I think we've got a decent way of looking at that. So I just, tried to give a summary of that. Then there's kind of the post-meet and confer thing. So I've got a section in there of here's what we did in terms of operational, because we're coming off of ARP ESSER. It's a funding cliff, and it's a big one. Nationwide, we're not any different than any district that, and I think 99% of the districts countrywide have received ARP ESSER funds. And all of a sudden that stops. It stops in October 1st. There is no more ARP ESSER funds. And we have been funding things like summer school and after-school programs. Well, that has to go back into the budget along with nurses and custodial staff and things. And so, on one hand, it'd be great. Okay, let's every last cent we need to give to certain things, but there's also some priorities that we've had to address on summer school and other pieces on that. So meet and confer, and I'm sorry, I had a daughter that came off her mission, and I've been kind of playing dad today, so I haven't talked to Ryan about did the meet and confer. There was a tentative yes, but he can probably give you a little bit more information on that. But I gave you, okay, here's some costs and things, and then below that, I tried to identify what changes in FTEs, and if you notice, the changes in FTEs that we've got are dealing with special education, which are reimbursable amounts. We're not trying to add costs out of the general fund per se on that. So there's attachments. The attachments give you line item by line item, and then I tried to give you summaries of the pivot tables to say, okay, here's what the line items, in case you wanted to go through on that. So,
John, I actually have copies of the addendums. Electronically would have been a little challenge, so I have hard copies if you would like them. So these are the addendums that are referenced in that.
Yeah. And so I tried to put, which is attachment A and B and so on that. So kind of in terms of the schedule that we have, here we are on May 14th-ish or whatever. We have the end of the school year. I've got some operating budgets that will need to be uploaded. Like it's noted in this document, we put about $20,000 to the schools on a per ADM basis. There's a couple departments that have been donating to the cause, and we need to undonate them, some amounts, curriculum and technology. They've had some inflationary costs that are there. But this gives you, here's where, the money has been allocated on that. So between now and the next board meeting, we'll give you an update at the next board meeting, kind of what I know and things. And then the third Wednesday in July is the board, the official budget hearing. Public is invited to comment. Obviously everybody on that, but we'll have final, post-meet and confer and everything like that. So, Ryan, do you have anything you want to add on?
I just, as I said, in terms of narrative form, this makes so much more sense in terms of where we are with the budgeting process. Included everything that we've had to add back to the budget. It's pretty well clearly described. Inflation's killing us. It's been killing us across the board in terms of food service. It's killing us in terms of activities, cost of hotel rooms, curriculum materials, technology materials, and we kept our operating budgets really to the minimum because most of our money flowed into salaries and benefits. And we're hopeful that an ECA will continue in the next year's budget also, and also we get some relief from the lawsuit. But as John said, is those operating budgets, $20,000 split across 2,600 kids isn't a lot of an increase to an operating budget that hasn't been touched for 10 years. And those costs have skyrocketed. So keep the body healthy. You have to put some money back into the operational budgets, but our goal is to put as much money as possible into salaries and benefits.
In terms of the lawsuit will start, the formal trial is going to be between June 3rd and July 9th. I've heard that we are most likely to be not the first series of witnesses, but we're in kind of the second wave of witnesses. I am one of two business managers. I think Ryan is the only HR superintendent with HR expertise. And so I think your 101 is about as represented as we can possibly be. So we'll do our best on that. So again, I think it's going to be the first part of June in which we'll do that. So Chairman Peterson and members of the board, do you have any questions that I can answer concerning the budget message, timelines, lawsuits? or anything else.
Did great.
I'm just really glad you're employed with UNT County Schools.
Me too. Okay.
Glad to hear that.
Me too.
Well, one of the things with the budget message, John talked about curriculum and technology. We have underfunded those. Because for 3 years they were paid for out of ESSER, we still are not back to that pre-2020 amount. But this is kind of what we think moving forward. Once our financials are audited in August, if we have underspent the current year's budget, those funds will be used to build back up the curriculum, build back up the technology, and anything also is hopefully provide additional funds to our staff. So that's what we're looking at. A little risky to reduce the curriculum and the technology budget as we have, but John has told me that we'll be okay. And John says we'll be okay, I believe we'll be okay.
Yeah, I think.
I hope so. The idea is that anything that goes into fund balance, and again, we've got some things that have come out, so, it's like you're kind of weighing, there's also with fund balances, you're dealing with some revenues that are flowing really weird due to the mineral adjustments that are coming in. But that will be one-time money, so we have to be careful on one-time money that we're not putting this in every year and things, but we can do kind of, it's ideal for technology and for curriculum to have one-time purchases, because remember, their purchases sometimes for like textbooks or let's say Chromebooks happen once every 5 years or whatever on a certain cycle. So it's more apt for use there. So, all right.
The other thing I think is interesting, and we talked about this last year, is we operate under the Wyoming Department of Ed 100, which is the funding model. Remember, last year we didn't get the 100 until after we'd already approved the budget in July. This year they didn't call it. What do they call it now?
They call it like a funding guide. It's not even, and it looks the same. Yeah, it's not a model, because they don't want to set it up for lawsuit purposes, so it's just,
guide.
It's like a funding suggestion, and we have to budget off that, and then the board has to approve it in July.
Yeah.
And my guess is it'll still be a suggestion in July.
So
we'll have to move forward.
Okay.
Thanks, John.
Any other?
Thank you, John. Thanks.
All right. Any questions?
No.
Nope. Nope. So I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay, there's
more.
There's more.
Yeah, there's more.
Okay.
Yeah, there's more.
So as you see, there's a memo dated April 16, 2024, regarding Decoria and Company. So we have come to the end of a contract series with them. And so they have asked for a re-upping of their engagement.
So could you please, the Decoria Company, explain what they are real quick before we go down this road, so the people that were not involved with some of the budgetary stuff and all.
So Decoria, the quick history of Decoria, back in 2003, 2004, this district, along with all the other districts in the Southwest, were kind of put on the hook because the former auditor just kind of, he got up and left, basically. And Mike Decoria the audit companies have definite expertise. Some do, let's say, oil and gas, and others do nonprofits and things. Decoria and Company is an auditing firm that specializes in governmentals. They came in and rescued the district and all the other districts. I mean, Lincoln 1, Lincoln 2, and one of the Sweetwaters and others. We have had a history with that, although the principal, the main person that owns it, has been sold to a brother. And that brother is Dave Decoria. Dave now has moved his company to Evanston and has brought 5 families with kids to Evanston. He likes, the cost of living, the location in comparison with Star Valley or Spokane, Washington, in regards to planes, flights and things. And so we've benefited on the ADM side with this group. They have provided really great expertise. I've been amazed at how they've been on the forefront of changes in government standards. When I first came, I think GASB 45 was in play. Now we're at GASB 100. I mean, it's just every year there's a new thing. And they have provided training and other things. They've held their costs. We've basically been able to have audits at the same price since 2017. And they kind of reminded me that they've held their costs down. And so we've gotten a deal, but they said they need to raise prices on that. So they're they're offering to have the engagement for $29,000 plus a single audit. It's reasonable. I can tell you that there are the competing auditors. There's one in Cheyenne, and there's also one in Casper, one in Rexburg that's being used. But I'm pleased with what they do. Now, remember, they are yours. They are not management's. Auditors are the board's. And so, it's your choice on, go, no go. But my recommendation is stay with this group. They're good. I use them constantly throughout the year. I get basically free consultation. I let them know when there is the slightest bit of, this went wrong, or we made a mistake here, or hey, what do you think about that type of thing? So in some ways we get both consulting and auditing. I think that they're independent and things. So you see my one page, here's the reasons for going with Decory & Company. And then you have the engagement letter. So here's what they would do, and as part of that. So that's this. It's written by CPA lawyers. I don't know, but so that's my recommendation.
Okay.
So I'm looking at this on here, it's saying June 30th, 24 through the 28th,
Yeah.
29,000. Is that an annual, or is that?
It's an annual.
Okay, that's what,
Yeah.
I just wanted
Yeah.
clarification on that, so the annual is $29,000.
Yeah.
Do we know what percent or what it was in the past?
Yeah, it was like 27,000.
Oh, so we've gone from 27,000 to 29?
Yeah,
Okay.
and things, and so.
As long as we weren't doubling while we're.
Oh, no, but,
This will be on the agenda for approval.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Okay, but they're in
No,
Evanston
that
now,
seems
so they won't be
reasonable.
spending as much in fuel. We should.
well, and that was one of the ways that they were able to
Offset.
hold their costs down, is they would usually fly in from Spokane or from Star Valley, and they realized it was an advantage to be here in Evanston.
That's great.
And so it was like, great. And I'm thinking, you're bringing kids. Great. We like that.
Yeah.
They've got all those other districts right here.
Yeah. So,
That's good.
okay.
Fantastic.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, I appreciate it. All right, we can move on to discussion items. District Climate Survey.
Members of the board, this is just kind of a heads up. We've given this survey, I think, for the last 8 years, and there's several reasons why I like it. Number one is it's simple, and it does ask, this is an exit survey that we give the last week of school and then the week following school. It gives a chance to comment on direction of the board, direction of district administration, direction of the superintendent, and then to comment on the climate, and then give us things that are going well and things that we can work on. What's nice is it's been the same survey, and so every year I bring to you the comparisons of the results. If you remember, 2020 was an exceptional year in terms of appreciation of what the board did, and it's been really good information. Just a notice that I plan to give that again.
Well, sounds good. Anybody got any questions on it?
No.
Want to add additional questions?
No.
Like, who's your favorite board member? Yeah, so, see if you're still employed or not. So, yeah, I like that one. Okay. Okay, we can move on to E, policy and parents' rights.
Chairman, members of the board, let me find this, and I'm going to plug
There's
this
a
one.
lot of red.
Procedure. I mentioned to several of you that this board meeting may take some time. This policy is going to take us some time. This policy, parental rights, is the one that was legislated this year, that we have to have a policy in place by July 1st. So I am going to go through it. I do have some hard copies. If you'd rather follow in hard copies, I have 4 left from our administrative meeting. Anyone like hard copies?
I'll take a hard copy too, please.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll take it. Ryan, thanks.
Okay. Try to make that a little bigger so you can see it. The parental rights policy is actually, the one time last year I went to Cheyenne and testified in opposition to this. Not that I'm opposed to parental rights, it's the exact opposite. I feel that we do a great job supporting our parents. And the idea that parents are partners with us is really part of all of our policies and everything we do. This policy is a little different in that, if you notice the very first thing in that very first paragraph, it talks about notification, which is okay. We notify our parents every year about their FERPA rights, about directory information that we provide, and now we will have to notify them about parental rights. And at the beginning of this policy, the big part of this is the idea is it gives parents an opportunity to file a grievance, so to say, is to, if they feel that the policy has not been followed, it gives them a chance to take this to the board. So you can see the very last sentence in that paragraph. The procedures for filing a complaint related to the rights of this policy are described under policy BEER, or BEER. Interesting policy name. Rules of practice governing hearings and contested cases before the Board of Union County School District Number 1. So, in other words, it adds a level of bureaucracy, red tape, if you want to say. We just can't necessarily solve our problems quickly. Now it potentially goes to a hearing. And don't get me wrong, I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth. Some parts of this bill are very positive, and I'm glad it's there. The part about the complaint hearing is just too much. It's too costly. It puts a burden on, I think, administration and on the board when these situations have been handled directly with parents before. And when you get into the policy IKAER, you'll see that if they're not satisfied with your decision, they can take it to the local government in terms of our local judges, which again puts an additional burden on them too. So I'm going to go through this. Please be patient. This is an important, I think, policy that you understand. Okay. So, the first part of this policy deals with definitions, and it's really pretty straightforward. in terms of definitions that are important in the policy. Doesn't take very long before you get to some interesting policies, and one deals with change. This is all about notifying parents if a school employee recognizes that there are change to that student. They should communicate with the parents. So it goes through this list of what change they're talking about. And if you go through the list, which I could, but I don't want to, you'll find out that there isn't one of those things that we wouldn't notify parents about anyway. We always have, we always would. It's just what we do. For example, the first one, it poses a risk or a threat to the student's safety, health, and welfare, or to the safety, health, and welfare of others. If we felt the student was at risk, their health was at risk, we'd communicate with parents directly. So I want to kind of keep going, if you're okay. I can go through those if you want. But this shows its intentions rather quickly. I'm now on the definitions down to instruction. So, just common sense, when you talk about instruction in a school, you're talking about the curriculum that we offer and how we teach and those things. But this is where it shows its hand. Instruction means the action, practice, or profession of teaching and includes planned teaching addressing gender identity or sexual orientation. The following shall not be included in instruction. So, if you're familiar with what's happening in the nation, this is actually an outreach of the Don't Say Gay bill that occurred in Florida. It came forward 2 years, previous legislative session was voted down, and then this has come forth and was approved. And probably the reason it was approved is because parental rights are important, but they have inserted in it this idea of practices of gender identity and sexual orientation. So if you go through what is not instruction, you can see some probably important points that our teachers will have to be trained on. Responding to a question from a student during class regarding sexual orientation or gender identity as it relates to any topic of instruction. That is not instruction. So in other words, if a high school teacher gets a question about gender identity or sexual orientation, they don't have to worry about losing their job because it was mentioned in class. And you'll see as we go through that, it's a possibility that our teachers will be mortified, which may not always be a bad thing. So anyway, 2 is referring to sexual orientation or gender identity of any public figure, historic person or group, or fictional character which the referral provides necessary context in relation to the topic of instruction. So let's say you're talking about an author who is historical, passed away, but may have been gay. If you mention that, that does not mean you're going to lose your job because it's contextual. It's also part of our standards. So you see the fine line that they've created for us already? Let me keep going. Student-generated schoolwork. Anything that is student-based always has been really protected speech. If you compare this to the separation of church and state, same thing. If you have a student-to-student discussion about religion and is not either supported or denied or fought against by the teacher, you can have those kind of discussions. Classroom references to a person's family, library books, extracurricular, curricular, student clubs, dual enrollment courses. We'll probably have to add concurrent enrollment classes. So those are not considered instruction. So let me keep going. So if you get down to notification, parental notification of changes in students' health or well-being. Again, this is the requirement that if we see a change in the student's health or well-being, we communicate with the parent, which we've always done and we always would. We consider them partners. What has happened out there in the world is schools have not communicated to parents. For example, if a student wanted to change their name from Pat to Patricia, the school had an obligation to communicate with the parents. They did not. This law is basically saying if there's that kind of change, you need to communicate with the parents, which we do and have and will continue. There's also kind of some warnings in there. I'm going to let you read through this. This is going to be first reading today. See, the principal or designee shall determine who will notify the parents and student. So typically, it's either administration, counselors, or the teachers themselves, depending on what the change is. It could be our nurses. If a student broke his arm today, our nurse contacted the parent, said that's a change in health, broke his arm. We would never not call a parent for something like that. So anyway, this is, nothing in this policy shall be construed to delay, modify, or alter the obligations to report suspected abuse or neglect of the child to the Department of Family Services DFS. So again, out there in the world, what happened is when there was a dispute, you didn't notify me that my son wanted to change his name, gender identity switch. The report back was, the student reported that if they changed their name, the parents would hurt them. And so the school did not report that because they wanted to protect the student. But that is not the law of reporting. And so you can see where the parents were furious with that. Our position will always be to communicate to the parents anytime there's a change, including sexual orientation and, what's the other one? Gender. So anyway, so let's kind of keep going. Do you see why I need to go through this kind of bit by bit? So notification requirements are really pretty good. By phone, face-to-face, messaging system, text, email, or other methods approved by the superintendent or principal. Any change, we have those opportunities to notify parents. I was really nervous there for a while. They had limited it. We have to do it by mail and certify. No, it's the same way we notify them now. Okay? But that kind of changes too. Let's see. I like this paragraph right here. School personnel shall encourage students to discuss issues that may arise related to their well-being with their parents or guardian. As appropriate, school personnel may facilitate discussions of such issues with parents. The school district shall not adapt or implement any formal or informal rule, policies, practices, or procedures which would direct, encourage, or have the effect of encouraging a student to withhold information from their parents. They just wrote it down, but that's something we would never do. We never have done, and if we have, someone's in violation of our own policies and procedures. But now it's in writing. Which might be the good part of this, is we have an opportunity to talk to staff and say, don't do it. Don't withhold information from parents. Consider them as partners, communicate everything. If you don't know what to communicate, talk to your principals or counselors who have been taught this. In other words, we can't put a policy together that says, don't tell parents, which is a good thing, right? So anyway, that's one of the good things. Parent notification of and consent to instruction. So this is the part that, again, may be good, that is there in writing with no questions asked. If you are going to teach anything that deals with sexual orientation or gender identity, you need to get written permission from the parents. Now, our position is our teachers are expected to follow state standards and the board-approved curriculum. If they're outside of that, they're outside of that. So, common sense, is there any time a K-5 teacher should be teaching about sexual orientation or gender identity? No. Probably not in the standards anywhere. You should not be taught. There should be no reason to get notification from a parent that you're going to teach this. Okay? 6-12 health classes in the high school, there may be an opportunity to talk about that. If it's in the curriculum, state-approved curriculum, we'll have to get written permission. Don't think it really is. Good. A physics class. Probably no reason at all for a teacher to be teaching about sexual orientation and gender identity. If they're going to, we better get permission. And now they're outside of their own curriculum. That's been our expectation in this district, is we teach the state-approved curriculum. At the same time, if you go back to those first things we talked about, some of my best discussions with students were not part of the curriculum. It came out of natural questions asked by students who wanted to know and care. That goes back to those things that are protected, that are not considered instruction. You can see that a teacher would be mortified that if they mention either of those two words, they're going to lose their job. because parents are gonna come and complain. Back to those things that are not considered instruction. They can have conversations, age appropriate, and we would probably defend them. Because there's going to be natural curiosity of students, especially our older students, and they may have questions of each other. It's just really tough. Teachers are not going to lose their job if a student brings up gender identity and talks to another student about it. But we may have to provide training on how to take that back around to what you've already seen. We need to encourage those kids to talk about this with their parents. As a teacher in this district, it's not part of my curriculum, I need to be careful in what I say. Same thing with religion. You don't push religion and you don't push against religion. You just leave it. It's one of those topics. Student-to-student speech is still protected. Always has been, probably always will be. So anyway, that's parent notification and consent to instruct. I don't think it's a high standard. If you are going to teach those topics, you better darn well talk to someone in the curriculum department and make sure parents sign off. Questions about that? Notification of routine health care services. We offer a lot of services to our kids through our nurses. We'll just have to put that list together and provide notification at the beginning of the school year. These are things that we do. The things that are required by the federal government, scoliosis, hearing, ears, eyes, those things we can provide as part of our services and not provide notification. I think it's pretty well universal that the school will check those health issues. Also, you can see in there that if there's a student that falls off the playground and requires first aid, but their parents have consented to none of the services we provided, we can still provide first aid and call an ambulance if we have to. So it protects our people. So I'll work with the nurses in terms of what we consider routine health care services. 5, student well-being questionnaires and health screening tools. This is a twofold thing and will be challenging. You probably are aware, because we've told you, if we have a student that is in crisis, wants to hurt themselves or wants to hurt someone else, they do an assessment, a risk assessment survey. We may have to get parental permission before we offer that survey now. If parents aren't available, I think reasonable and prudent, we can go ahead. The P&A, which is the state-approved survey of youth, we're required to give it. Now, we cannot, it's a passive approval from parents in the past. In other words, we're going to give it. If you don't want it to give it, just you don't have, your son or daughter doesn't have to give it. Now it is we have to provide, we have to get permission directly. So my guess is you're going to see the P&A probably go away in other schools. Can you imagine a school of 3,500 kids trying to get permission to give that tool? The other thing is we do offer, we do require as part of the grant, where we're providing, I don't know what do we call that? We have a survey that's required as part of a grant for our services that notify parents about the dangers of vaping. Eric Williams will. So that's another one we'll have to get permission before we can offer it. What we're going to try, and Jeff will have to help us on this, is when we provide notification to parents, put right on there, there are 2 surveys that we were going to give, the P&A, Eric Williams survey. If you don't want to participate, you don't have to. We have a copy of it. You can take a look at it. That's all required in this law. And so that's kind of where we'd be with that. Again, you can kind of see my opposition to it is it just kind of makes it harder to do the job that we've been asked to do even by the state.
Could that be just in a little, like on the pre-registration stuff, like a little check yes or no box?
Yeah, we're going to put it on Power School so parents can either indicate it right or no. It may be the death knell to any other surveys, which are okay because we're trying to protect instructional time anyway. So if it has anything to do with the health of the kids, I think we're going to have to get prior parental permission. The next one is student records. Bottom line is we have policies in place about student records, but because of this new law, we have to update our policies dealing with student records. Basically, this is the same law that's been there forever. It's the HERPA laws. In other words, parents have access to a student's record. If they have mistakes, they can get them corrected. So that is the parental rights legislation, and it is our IKAE. To continue, we also have IKAER. This is the complaint procedure. Really, this is a copy of the other policy that was described. Just ignore that policy KB. That should be IKAE. Let's change that. In other words, this is kind of the procedures that follow. I think it's interesting. If I would put this together, I would try to keep the times consistent. You can notice there's a 14-day requirement, there's a 7-day requirement, there's a 30-day requirement notification. So how this works is a parent has 14 calendar days to file a complaint with the superintendent. The superintendent has 7 days to acknowledge that it's been received. Then he has 30 days to file a position. Then the individual, I think, has 10 days, yeah, it goes to 10 days to notify the superintendent that they disagree with the decision. And then it goes to the board. The board has a certain number of days to indicate they'll hear it. They review the evidence. The burden of proof is on the complainant, which I was surprised. So the complainant has to provide evidence that of what they're saying, and the superintendent provides evidence on the position that was taken. Then the board has 30 days to render a decision, and then another 14 days they can communicate that to civil court if they don't agree with the board's decision. So again, pretty procedural. That was why I testified against this, is you don't need to do this to schools. We will protect parents' rights. You've told us now, but just let us do our job and communicate with parents today. Now this, hopefully we'll never have a complaint, but you can see, anytime we get into this, you have 7 days, 14 days, 10 days, 30 days. It's the jots and tittles that people fight you against. You didn't respond back in 7 days, it was 7.15. It just gets into the weeds. These are business days. So if you think about us trying to find a solution to a problem that a parent has about us communicating with them, this will take months to solve. So they just added more red tape. I do think there's some positive things. The positive things are straightforward in terms of policy IKAE. We communicate to our teachers, our counselors, our principals, that we don't keep anything from parents. We teach the state-approved curriculum and our own approved curriculum, priority standards, and if you're getting into the weeds, you're on your own. Because now, by law, you're on your own. There is no penalty for this, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
So the penalty in terms of a staff member that violates this is probably up to us.
Yeah.
So to me, a serious violation may result in suspension, termination, or dismissal. It came up in class, I talked about it. We'll probably support that teacher and say, just be careful. However that goes, it's going to be situational. But it is interesting, I guess. I did send these to Jeff. These are actually the model policies from Wyoming School Board.
So I do have a question on this, because
Okay.
you went through the judicial review on it. If a parent is aggrieved or adversely affected by the, in fact, by the final decision of the board, the parent may seek judicial review of the decision within 30 calendar days of the postmarked decision in accordance with Wyoming State Statute 16-3-114. So judicial review, what kind of authority would they have? Is it just saying that you are not adhering to our own policies? I mean, what kind of, as far as a review by a judge on this, where are we liable, or is a student liable, or is it just in accordance with their own policies? They review it and say, no, I rule in favor of the student, no, the board is correct on this?
Well, I'm not an attorney, but I did stay at Holiday Inn Express. My opinion would be they have no authority. They could make a recommendation, but it would still come back to the board, and the board would have to make the final determination. Wrong?
Well, a judge would be a district court judge first, and then, ultimately, we could end up the Supreme Court, I suppose. But they would be essentially either agreeing with the parents on their complaint or with the school district. And if the judge ordered it to be the case, then we would have to correct whatever it was that he or she would make the decision, and then we'd have to follow it.
We would. We'd
Yeah.
fall underneath their jurisdiction.
But it wouldn't be a financial payment that we would have to make or anything like that. This would be addressing
No,
all
coming
the
back to
issues we
school
talked
or,
about.
yeah,
Yeah.
I understand that, but it's, they would have the final say.
They would have the
Over the
final,
board.
he or she, the judge in the district court, would have the final say.
Well, okay. Thanks for that, so, not
Okay.
knowing the state statute, so.
Yeah. Other questions? So,
I will say though, real fast, the district court judge is limited on what the issue is on appeal. So the district court judge wouldn't be holding the hearing where you'd have all the evidence come forward or anything like that. That's already happened. The district court judge is really limited on what he or she can do. And so, yes, they do control all that, but usually it's matters of law, questions of law, whether or not the district followed their own procedures properly, whether due process was followed, that sort of thing. So it's really limited.
No, that's what I'm saying, yeah, so that's, whether we follow our policies is what we're ruling on.
So although there is a judicial review there and an appellate procedure, they're really limited on what they can do.
All right.
part of the requirement of this, in the sense of parental rights, or excuse me, student records are a part of this new law. I had to go back into our policies. This is policy JO, which is student records, since this deals with student records also. We've never had an issue with students' CUNY files, but I just wanted to make sure that if we potentially are going to have a dispute with a parent, that everything is spelled out in policy, what we do and how we do it. So JO is basically, you can see in the red, it's just what we're currently doing, but to make sure our secretaries are aware. I've already sent messages to the secretaries with our procedures and said, hey, let me know if we're doing this, not doing this. What do you see as a bugaboo? Probably the biggest thing I see is, hopefully you're aware, student records, only those who have an educational interest in that student can check that record out. We've never really kept track of who's seeing those records, and now we're going to have to because of the law. So we'll just have a sign-up sheet. If the principal needs to see an educational record, they'll just say, they'll sign it. If the parent wants to see it, they can sign it. This also goes into what happens if there's a dispute in a student record. Right now, we just handle it, but now it's written on the paper. So my ask is, on first reading, if you approve IKAE and IKAR, is you also approve JO, the changes that are made. Notice most of the changes are just additional and really straightforward. Giving more rights to parents, identifying that some students are eligible to have access to the records when their parents may not be, based on their age and if they're considered dependent on tax stream. So it's in the law doing what we do. JO also talks about our identifying directory information, which is right from the statute. We notify parents every year of our that we can identify directory information. We don't just carte blanche give directory information to anyone who asks. It has to be for a legitimate reason, and that's also in the policy. But again, I think the changes are needed just to make sure that we know what we're telling parents to do. So that's the rest of it. So let me show you JOE, which is an exhibit.
Yes.
Student right. This actually is the procedure that we use governing the maintenance, transfer, and disclosure of student educational records. This is the part that I send the secretaries and ask to help me with it. Again, as long as I've been a principal in the district, this is what we've done. The only real thing I think we put a little more emphasis on is the idea of documenting who's actually looking at those educational records. And we'll probably just create a form for that. But again, pretty straightforward, nothing controversial. It's just allowing parents, guardians, the appropriate staff access to records and why. It also mentions directory information, again, right from statute. Just, like I said, making sure we're right. Here's the FERPA requirement that we post in the newspaper every year. It's also on our website. It's interesting, we've had parents say, well, you're going to divulge directory information, which includes really a lot of information, but really what directory information is for is so we can create a program for a wrestling match and use student names and weights. The parent can say, no, I don't want that disclosed, and then they couldn't. We can have an assembly like we just did where names are public, or in the newspaper. That's what directory information is. The reason why this came about years ago is because the military wanted a situation where they have access to all student records and addresses and phone numbers. That's why if you have a recent graduate, you probably got a thing from the Marines or the Army, and that's why they use that information. So we have to disclose that. I don't want to. So that's all those are. So there's actually 4 things I would like you to approve. Is first reading policy AKAE.
I did have some recommended changes for JO. JO is pretty extensive. I think we can do it on second reading.
Okay.
It's good to bring that into compliance with.
JO is quite old, if you notice when it was originally put
Yeah,
down. So that's
yeah, that was the concern. I want to make sure we got FERPA covered on that.
Okay.
We can do that later.
Okay. Any questions? No, that's a lot. Just a heads up, there's another one that we're required to take action on before August 1st. And that was even more controversial than this one. That deals with Title IX. That changes to Title IX that's being brought forward by the federal government, which are really going to tax what we do. My position is we're a conservative community, will continue to be, and someone may have to sue us if we violate Title IX. And we'll probably live with this. So that's coming. But matter of fact, anyone who's interested, tomorrow have a conference call with a national attorney firm. Invited me to participate in changes required to Title IX with the new legislation. So I'm really interested what we sent 2 individuals, Dr. Ingles and Director Williams, to be trained on the new Title IX regulations, so they'll help us redo that policy. And I'm kind of curious what national attorneys are saying we need to be. So you're welcome to come and watch.
What time is that happening?
I don't know. I need to get pair of glasses. Give me a second here.
So going down that road, and I know the direction that it's heading.
Is that 9
my-
a.m.? 8 a.m. 8 tomorrow. Yeah, in my office.
So
Anyone's welcome to come and enjoy the update of Title IX.
It's not good.
no, it's not, but this becomes the question, right? As the state of Wyoming, and I'm old enough to remember when they were going to federally change the drinking age from 19 to 21. And the state of Wyoming fought it till the very bitter end, until there was a discussion of withholding federal funding. So my question is, with this Title IX, and we're talking about being so in opposition to possibly some of the terms and what's coming down, is there the possibility of them swinging the big hammer and saying you will comply or you don't get funding?
The state of Wyoming just took action to fight this lately. So it's joined, there are several other states. I know Texas.
Yeah, I
Texas
can
is fighting
imagine.
it. Our Attorney General has put that forward. But yes, I think your answer is yes. Absolutely.
They did it on speed limits.
No, I know on everything, and that's my biggest fear, you know, that they come down with a heavy hammer and say you will comply or you don't get funding. That's what which is ridiculous.
We fight it.
Well, you fight it to the point where we don't have any money coming.
You fight until you don't have any money, and then you struggle fighting it that way.
Still fight it.
Still fight it.
And then, I don't think you give in, I think you have to make changes to make sure we're within the law. And the changes may be different than we've ever done before. Just a simple explanation is if our busing rules change, and we're not allowed to segregate students on buses, we no longer have overnight trips. Same thing with segregating in the hotel
The
rooms.
health rooms, yes, so I know that has been brought up in the past.
So that will change what happens to athletics in our state because of,
Activities.
you know, conference games with Cheyenne and Gillette will probably have to go away because we're not. And that's a policy that we have in place. We don't have to stay overnight. We choose to for safety reasons. But those are some of the things I see potentially we lose because of what would be considered discrimination.
Okay, all right.
But we still keep our standards high and reflective of our community and get sued, we'll get sued and until we have to change and then we'll make changes. But anyway, that's a long way off, I hope.
Yeah, okay.
Discriminate to avoid discrimination.
Crazy.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it all does.
Clear as mud.
So we'll go ahead.
That's all I have.
Okay. Next, update on the Evanston Ditch Project. Do we have any information on that?
Yeah, just quickly. We were really pushed into making a financial commitment, and at this time, we couldn't. We tried to reach out to partner with the city. They can't make a financial commitment either. So I did make Brendan Ellis's day. We told him that at this time, we're not interested in soccer fields out at West Park. If we ever do become interested in soccer fields, again, it makes sense to put them up at the high school on our practice field area. So the water project is still moving forward, but we're not a component of that. The soccer fields are not. I was really just trying to help the community. But they originally told me I didn't have to commit funds now until it was approved, and then they said, no, you need to commit funds. Can't do that.
Agreed. Okay, that ends our discussion items. Anybody have any comments whatsoever?
There's one more.
Where am I at? I don't have it. All right, so I'm not crazy.
Partnership with Evanston Youth Club. It's there.
Okay, so I didn't get an updated, the ditch. That's the ditch project.
No, I said it was after.
Oh, okay, all
Sorry
right.
about that, Chairman.
So I approved the agenda without having the correct agenda. So.
But we,
The rest of us had
The
it.
rest of you had- I didn't vote anyway, so anyway. All right, so we are moving on to G, partnership with the Evanston Youth Club.
we were approached by the youth club, and they've been in contact with Mr. Dennis. I'm really pretty excited about this.
Yeah.
We have a third dome, and the longer it sits, the more likely that it'll be ruined. So we were approached by the Evanston Youth Club to partner with them to put the third dome up on Evanston Middle School's football field area to benefit them and to benefit us. So we've met, we've had the discussion, we just talked briefly about commitments. And we share with them the challenges that we've already talked about. Is committing funds right now is tough for us. We have to see after the audit where our carryover is, and we're still cautious. But part of this is we've also invited the city to participate. I guess because of, and I'm not speaking for the city, this is what I've heard, because of the renewed tennis courts and pickleball courts, there are more people that are using that facility, and there are no restroom facilities. The only place to put restroom facilities there is on our property. So it would be wonderful to have restroom facilities for this dome and for the club too, because right now, the skate park, they come into the club, anyone there comes into the club to use their restrooms. So it makes sense, city restrooms, city participate in this, I think it would be a great partnership. We own the dome, we own the land, we would probably maintain the facility, that should be considered in the partnership. In other words, I don't think it should be a 50-50. And so that's late to be discussed. We've made it very clear that this cannot happen until 2025 at the earliest, and they're actually good with that. They're applying for grants for this project. And so you're really talking about 1.2, what you have? Yeah. Not our commitment, that's what the total price would be. This dome, actually, the one we have left is bigger than the two we had at the high school. So I just think it's an opportunity that would be crazy not to engage with and have a discussion. As my understanding would be, since this is a partnership, we would lose some of the opportunities to use the facility, but they would gain them, so we'd have to share them.
Right.
That was actually pretty good news to part of their board, because right now we use our facilities, the community can't really get into them because we use them all the time. This, they would have access to on a shared basis. And they're recommending that it be a court-type surface, 2 volleyball courts. So.
Good.
No, it is, and we've discussed this a long time ago, right? We were talking about the economic growth of Evanston and the economic the economics of putting in the field house when we were talking about it, right? And I still think that these kind of facilities would do that and benefit the city greatly, right?
Yeah.
And so that's something that they need to look at. The other thing is, maybe we can look at swapping out some mill money for this.
Yes.
To help pay for that,
Actually,
right?
I think I'm scheduled to meet with city work session.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're talking about the mill and sharing stuff, so. Still kind of on the table. We had a discussion with Kim at the rec center in terms of how we split that rec mill, how we can use it, how they can use it. And I'll make a presentation. Jared and I will make a presentation at the city council.
No,
about what we're proposing.
and just our track kids, right? Our middle school track kids, just, they need space too, right? And you have 240 middle school track kids that are running up and down the halls inside our schools and have the ability to go in a facility like that and maybe stretch a little bit and run a little bit. It would be good, so.
The club is really interested in a dual surface. So, like our Dome 1 that has the court surface, but they're also interested in purchasing a system that can lay turf. Give an added expense that, it's easy to talk about that until you actually see real numbers. So part of it is the grants they receive.
Yeah.
Again, ours would have to come out of one-time money, and we're just not going to jeopardize where we are. We don't really know until we do the audit in August. We'll give you more information. To move forward, they'll probably start having these discussions in January, but no funds would be expended until 25, 26.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we put up the money for it and then we just take all the mill money until we pay ourselves back out of it.
Yeah.
So.
Those are options.
Yeah.
So would it be a two-way or a three-way partnership?
I hope to get a three-way.
Three-way,
partnership.
yeah.
In the city.
But, because again, if they're truly going to put restrooms down there somewhere, where? They have to be on our property.
Yeah.
I think we're a good neighbor. We work with them too, but who would maintain those is probably the big question. And already the club has let us know that they don't have the ability to maintain it with their current facility. And we would maintain it as part of our portion of our partnership.
So what would be their contribution to it?
Dollars.
That's what I'm saying. They think they have financial means to be able to.
Yeah, they won't know until they get back some of the grants. But
Okay.
the grants that are available are specific for recreational purposes.
Okay.
Non-school.
Okay.
So we couldn't get to those.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll take on that. Yeah. But again, you go back to your mill, right? To offset some of that, so through the years. So any other discussions on that? No, I think that, if we can figure out a way to pay for that thing, I think it'll be good, so. Or have other people help pay for it, so. I seen you. John's over there shaking his head and nodding his head, shaking his head, nodding his head, so. All right, so that officially, right, is there anything else out there that you didn't have on my list as far as discussion items? G finished it out? Okay. Okay, sounds good. Mr. Thomas, anything else on that?
Not on
discussion items? So we'll move forward and we'll move on to public comments. So if we have any public comments, please come on down. The price is right.
So I'm grateful this is my last school board meeting.
Doesn't have to be.
I know, right? I just want to thank everybody in the room for how you blessed my life.
So thank you.
Thank you, Earl. Thank you for your service. You've really matured since you've been a teenager. Amen.
Good evening. Do I need to state my name?
Yes.
And address. My name is Tyler Ruby. My address is 105D Mount Village Drive. Many of you might know I'm also a teacher in the district. Been here for 25 years. So I do have a statement to read to you. So I want to thank the Union County School District Number 1 Board of Directors for allowing me to address you this evening. As the governing body, it is my understanding you wish teachers with questions and concerns to come and address these matters in person at a board meeting. I come before you this evening to express some concerns and seek the opportunity to work with the board to have discussions about some district policies and procedures. The first concern is the elementary dean of students position at one of the buildings, and secondly, expressing a concern about there being more consistency with transfer requests within the district and also hiring policies. So the first one with the elementary dean of students, just here to seek further clarification on this position that's been created as the new elementary dean of students without this position being posted for other employees to apply for and have the opportunity to interview. It is my understanding that there was a bubble in the building with one of the positions that was there. There is also currently a first grade teaching position that is open in the district. I also approached the board seeking and asking for clarification with what appears to be inconsistency with district policy and procedures for teachers filling positions in the school district. Sorry, my legs are just going, let me tell you. I hope the Board of Trustees can understand the time and effort employees spend and personal funds vested in acquiring a degree or a license, and the work that goes into that. And I've been in that position several times, but then also hearing that the position was given to another employee that is working on their degree, and the position is given to those folks where there are individuals in the district who are fully qualified and have that license in hand. Secondly, with teachers interested in a transfer that are allowed to transfer within or in another building, the inconsistency is in some cases some teachers do have to interview for those positions, and in other cases teachers do not have to interview. So, so thinking about that, what I am asking the Board of Directors is to be open with communications with that, with discussing policies and procedures when it comes to hiring employees and also transferring employees within the district, to look at that so that there is more consistency with what is happening with those positions, and that transparency is out there for all the employees. And I appreciate your time and with listening, so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Come on down.
Good evening. I'm Sunny Schuler. I live in the Valley, but I work here in the district. I just came out to invite our board members and directors and admin to our golf tournament at the end of the year. It's one the EEA is putting on as part of our scholarship fund. And so this year, we were able to hand out 6 scholarships to EHS seniors, and all of the funds that we make on our golf tournament go towards that. So I just wanted you to be aware of when it is. It's May 31st at 4 p.m. Mr. Thomas is willing to help us with some snacks, finger foods afterwards. It's a 4-person scramble. We would love it if you had a female member on your team, but if not, we'll just make people like Bubba golf left-handed the whole time. So, anyways, we want everyone to come out to that. Don't feel like you need to know much or be good at golf to do so. I've got some great pictures from last year's tournament, and you know, clubs didn't stay in people's hands, and it rained on us, and it was cold, and all the things, but we had a great time, and so I just wanted to invite everyone out to that.
Thank you. I have 2 questions.
Yeah.
Can you guarantee warm weather?
No,
Okay.
definitely not.
All right.
Nope.
And do you
Packed for all the seasons.
Do you sign up through you or through?
Oh, I'm glad you asked
golf
that. Just call it into the pro shop.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So what time does it get dark?
8 o'clock.
Yeah, we got plenty of time.
You haven't seen me golf.
Well,
Even in a scramble.
we've got people that'll push you along.
It depends on what do I have to walk?
No, we got carts. We got carts. And at the end of the day, if you just need to pick up your ball and throw it, we really don't care.
Kick it around the course as I go.
Yeah.
A lot of things.
Anyways, we'd love to see as many people out there as
All
possible.
right, thank you. Good cause. Appreciate it. He said scholarships.
Yeah, it goes for the scholarship fund, the EEA
What's
does.
the registration fee?
Oh, it is $60 a person.
Okay.
Awesome. Was the best thing. So is there any other public comments at this time? All right,
That's okay.
thank you.
We'll just let you putt, too.
Hi, I'm Amy Cornell. I live at 108 Mesa Drive. And with the Dean of Students and all the administrators we have, I just would like to suggest maybe that Dr. Ingalls would be so proud of me, because rather than being reactive to, you did this, so here's your consequences, perhaps we could hire more counselors to be proactive and, maybe get the kids at a lower age where we're full of problems at the elementary school, and maybe that would help with our middle school and high school behavior problems. That's just my suggestion.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
All right.
Crickets?
Moving along.
All right, we can move on. Move on from public comments. Thank you for them. We will move on to our action items. Wow, it's getting late. I know, I got it from him. So, yeah, he wasn't paying attention, maybe. So action item A, personnel. I, the resignations and contracts. I need a motion to approve the resignations and contracts as identified in our documents.
Second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to action item B, approve the first reading of parental rights.
Chairman Peterson, members of the board, I recommend that you approve policy IKAE, IKAER, JO, and JO-E.
I can't write it that fast. No, I can't, sir. Yeah, Jeff was going to modify JO, but we're going to approve it as now, knowing in the second reading. Yeah, so we'll just approve the first reading on it. So, yeah, there will be changes. We can't approve the changes until it comes, and we'll see the others in the second reading.
IKAE, that's the parental rights. IKAER, which is the complaint procedure. JO, which is student records, and JOE, which is the procedures in terms of how we deal with the student records.
So you guys got that right?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
All of what he said, yes.
All what he said?
All of what he said, I'll
All
make that
what-
motion.
Okay, you'll make that motion. I need a motion to approve everything that Mr. Thomas said.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second.
Second.
Second. Any discussions? None? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Dave, before we proceed on the previous item, were we supposed to approve contracts?
Yeah, there's some personnel, yeah, in the documents.
One and two.
1 and 2. No, it just comes underneath resignations and contracts. It's item AI. So they were in there.
He did both at the same time.
Yeah, I did them at the same
Yeah,
time.
right, yep.
Yeah,
Right.
so, yeah. Right, we good?
Yep.
Moving on? Okay. I need a motion to approve and the ratify, meet and confer agreement. Action item C, ratify the meet and confer agreement. What time is it? I know.
Hey, at least you're consistent. You said it wrong 3 times.
I know.
Chairman Peterson, members of the board, I would like to go through this, what we
Okay.
agreed to,
Yes.
and kind of what's left on the table. Have a kind of quick discussion about what we discussed in terms of the EEA and hiring practices. So just to start, what we are recommending is a $2,000 increase to the base certified teaching salary schedule. That'll be no step for the 24-25 school year. A $1 increase for the support staff salary schedule, no step. And to adopt a new support staff salary schedule. I'll give you a copy of it, and I just would like to explain it quickly, if I could. This is the work that we've been doing really for 2.5 years with the Battelle for Kids consultants. So our current salary schedule for our support staff has 14 columns, and the separation between steps is 25 cents a step, and then the separation between columns is inconsistent. So what this did is it took job descriptions from all of our employees and placed them according to a coefficient that was developed by Battelle and the committee. I know Trustee Reader was on that group originally when we started. It's pretty sophisticated, but the challenge you have anytime you create a new salary schedule is moving your current staff into the salary schedule. The problem we face is 25 cents an hour down, but consistent from column to column was never a consistent dollar value. So we have 14 columns with 25 lanes and no dollar value is equivalent to any of them. So you couldn't just pick up one employee and place it on the salary schedule. Because what would happen is you'd have a variation. Some employees would make 75 cents an hour, some may make $1.25 an hour based on where they were placed not to lose money. So in discussion with this, we came to the conclusion that this salary schedule starts July 1st and will move forward with new employees. Anyone currently employed will stay on the current salary schedule and anticipate base increases and not steps. Reason for that is the new salary schedule has a 50-cent an hour step differentiation. That was developed based on our research with the 48 school districts in Wyoming and what is competitive in the market. 50 cents is competitive. 25 cents, we fall further and further behind. So it was necessary to have 50 cents. You can see that a 50-cent an hour increase moves you down to the bottom faster, and there's more money available on this new salary schedule. But equivalent is current employees will receive increases that are equivalent. So moving forward, we either have to give 50-cent an hour raise or we have to change the salary schedule. So the goal is to get at least 50-cent an hour raise. This year it's $1, so we did work out. There are some bugs to work out, but we're pretty confident that for the first time we have sound job descriptions and we have a method of moving employees from one position to the next, where we've always struggled. For example, if you're an A moving to a secretarial position, how do we identify that salary increase? Well, there are methods that do this fairly straightforward. Moving new individuals into this new salary schedule is straightforward. The columns are job-specific. There's no crossover between those. If you recall now, is column 11, 12, 13, and 14 may deal with transportation. Now, column 7 is transportation. So there's just one column. Secretaries were across 5 columns. Now they have just one column. So it's much easier to understand. Then there's going to be a learning curve, but overall, this keeps us competitive in the job market. The overall, the last 2 years, $2.25 an hour raise for support staff has made their salaries more competitive. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
So I've got a question on this, and it just, I don't know, I ain't gonna throw kinks into it. I guess I might. So what percentage of our support staff has benefits as far as like insurance and things? Roughly?
I think it's around 30%. It's not that much on support staff.
And the reason I'm going down this line here is because of our increase to the insurance this year. If we have a family on there, the cost to the employee is $107 a month. $107 a month to the district and $107 to the employee. At 50 cents an hour, that would not offset the cost of the increase for our insurance for those 30% of that. So just throwing that out there, and I don't know if there's something that we can as a board in the future, just because I've gone through it, it just stinks to lose money, right? And our employees should not lose money, right? And I just know with the steps and everything, I agree with this 100%, but if we have this influx, there is going to be the possibility of people losing money every month, even though getting the step. So
it's a real possibility, and that's a concern we talk about all the time. The issue is the nature of support staff versus certified staff and the salaries of each. That dollar increase represents a greater percentage to support staff than the teachers got with their $2,000. And I think the message is the best we can do. But if you look at the salaries of 2 support staff side by side, let's say 8-hour aides, they work 8 hours a day, 9 months out of the year, one takes a benefit and one does not, and you look at their total salary, the difference is $25,000. So the benefit they're receiving, even though they're going to be paying more for that, is significant. And our district has decided over the years to allow support staff access to our insurance. They have to pay more, but they have access to the best insurance around, and we're trying to maintain competitive nature with their hourly salary. And also, something that we sometimes forget is we also pay one-way retirement pension. These individuals, after 20 years, qualify for a pension. Pretty darn good benefit. But yes, a 9-month employee versus a 10-month employee versus 11-month employee versus a 12-month employee. The 9-month employee pays more because they have to pay those summer checks out of their own pocket. Most of them deduct that increase from their monthly salaries, bi-weekly salaries, bi-monthly salaries. So yeah, we understand kind of what that looks at. And part of the issue we had more than ever this year is recovering from ESSER, ARP ESSER funds. And now we're recovering. But this was a tough year to budget.
no, I agree, and I'm not in opposition to this. I'm just throwing that out there, right? And we're much better than 25 cents, right? I mean, we're at 50 cents, which is less, I don't want to say less painful if they're having to increase on their insurance, but it is, I think you've done a fantastic job, John, so kudos.
My frustration, of course, isn't with what we've offered. My frustration is that we continue to beg the state to be aware that our insurance last year went up 6%, 8.5% this year, and we received no money for those insurance increases. They flatlined us 2 years in a row. It makes no sense. It's mean-spirited. They deserve to be sued. Oh, yeah, we're suing them.
So, okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Keep going?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions about the salary schedule? Again, I think it's good work. I think it sets our employees up for a positive future all around the board. Sorry, it's not skip down to the bottom. Come on. So, just to point out, Those two dollar values for a $2,000 base increase and a dollar on the step, it represents $1.145 million in increased money. That is a recurring cost. I think that's a pretty significant commitment on the district's part. And you'll see as we go down that it's not the only commitment we've made. The very next one is district insurance, and the increase to district's insurance at 8.5% is $731,000. Our half of that as a district and board is $365,000, and that's right on top of the $1.1 million. So we're already at $1.5 million of reoccurring costs. I know it's disappointing, but I think it's the nature of insurance and the nature of our state if they're not going to pay us more for our insurance coverage. It's unfortunate. What is left to be discussed and is kind of in the hands of the Evanston Education Association is there's two benefit changes available which would drop those totals not significantly. Family, I think, drops $18 a month. The benefit changes are to the max out-of-pocket and the deductible. Again, I pay for the insurance just like everyone else. I just feel that we're making our insurance worse every year when it's a product that has to be paid for. We have to pay more for it. We pay more for it. But anyway, my recommendation would be that we stick with the 8.5% increase, keep in our back pocket those two changes for the future because it's not going to get any better. The good news, I think, about the insurance is it's a huge benefit that this district provides our employees. It's right at, maybe a little over, $8 million out of a $42 million budget just for insurance alone. It's a huge commitment on our part to provide insurance to our employees. It's just as frustrating to me as it is to every other employee that we have to pay more. So, any questions on that? We will finalize what EEA decides at the June board meeting.
So will this be identified as a first reading then?
No.
And then finalize second reading? Just finalize it?
We just finalize it. Because the expenditure that you're approving is our half of the insurance.
Okay.
What the employees pay will either be what you see up there or less.
Okay.
The
All right.
savings due to the changes are for the
employees
employees
only.
portion.
Okay, all right.
Yep. Okay. Proposal 3 is $100 per workshop attendance. Hasn't changed recently. $25,000, that means we pay over 250 employees to attend workshops in the summer. Lifetime of service stipend, again, 5 and 5 is what we've done. But notice the replacement cost to the EBF has gone up to $100,000. It was 75 from the beginning. It's now $100,000 because we've changed the sick leave buyout. We're recommending to change the sick leave buyout. So let me keep going. Proposal 5 deals with our leave policy, and I think it's a very generous policy. It's a great policy just because of the opportunity to take leave during the school year, mostly business that can't be conducted in the summer or can't be conducted after school, or you're supporting your kids in activities and you don't have to lie. You can just take a general leave day, mental health day, whatever you want to call it, but it's a good, generous policy. When you link that to the leave incentive and the policies associated with that, there is a carrot to be in the classroom. $1,000 check, last day of school is a pretty good carrot, I think, when we're struggling for funds. But anyway, that policy will stay the same, and also the 2 additional flex days for support staff will also stay. That is a commitment of $150,000, and where that money comes from is we budget funds for substitutes. If we don't need to use the substitutes, we'd rather give it to the staff. That's where the incentive money comes. So it doesn't flow back and increase our carryover. We give it to our teachers who are in the classroom. So I think it's a good thing. 6 is to increase the tuition reimbursement from $500 to $750. This hasn't changed in 25 years. 25 years ago, $500 was half tuition. Now it's not. So we need to get that up. And this is at least a start. Okay, that is an increase of 50% from 12,000 to 18,000. Recurring costs, the next one is increased athletic addenda and all addenda, which includes all of the non-athletic addenda. Notice the price tag on that. It's not a large increase for those addendas. It's $125 a point, which is, again, $125 than you get from the previous year. Represents $227,000 reoccurring cost. District proposal number 8. The hourly rate for substitutes, just keep that competitive. It's not high enough to really encourage anyone to substitute unless they want to. It's just, I guess we just need to be competitive out there for that type of part-time job. It's also a significant dollar value of about $200,000. One up there, this is where we're proposing to increase the sick leave buyout from 40 to 60. With 180 days in terms of the severance package, that represented $7,200. Moving it to 60, now it represents $10,800. So an individual who leaves the district with a bank of 180 days gets a $10,000 check. I just don't see that as a bad thing, and that's the only severance education really provides. I think it's a positive thing. Does it need to be more? Well, the typical teacher daily rate is about $300 a day. Couldn't afford that, of course, but that's kind of where that sits. It's a good severance package if you are putting sick leave in a bank. If you're not, it doesn't mean anything. The reason why the lifetime of service stipend went up, because if you double that, which is currently in our policy, that goes to $20,000 for individuals who retire with 180 days. I can tell you that that's not the trend now. The trend is not to have 180 days in the bank. The trend is to use your days before they accumulate, unfortunately. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Questions about the $60 per day? Okay, these are additional topics for discussion. I think the first one is really a good idea. To create an insurance committee made up of representatives from every building, not necessarily to go out to bid, but to talk about issues and concerns that our staff have with our insurance. Probably more than anything is to educate everyone in the district in terms of insurance. What do certain terms mean? What's a quit-up? What's a cafeteria plan? How does that benefit us? How does it hurt us? And those are things that that committee can do. Representative form of government, so the representatives will go back and share it with their buildings. Sometimes the insurance committee reps in the past have been a pretty tough duty because they're going back with not good messages. But this is a different situation. I think be positive, but also be able to express concerns with our insurance and get questions answered. Hiring practices come up every year since I've negotiated. Just a couple things that I think are important is we do have a hiring practice policy book that we follow. There are some terms that are always confusing and always will be confusing. In-building transfers are transfers in the building. The principal has to have discretion to move his staff around to fill either open spots, because the last 12 years we reduced through attrition. So positions have been moved around. It's been brought up that we hired a dean of students. That was an in-building transfer. We don't post in-building transfers because it only affects that building. Now, this is a little different because we had one FTE extra in 5th grade at Uinta Meadows. Typically, what we do is reduce that position through attrition, and the savings would go back to the staff. We were approached by the principal and the superintendent, K-5 superintendent, that FTE needs to stay at that building to support behavior and attendance. So that's what happened. That FTE stays in place. A transfer was done with the staff member from Uinta Meadows into that position. It opened up a 1st grade position where the 5th grade teacher could have transferred into that spot, or any other teacher in that building. But since that time, we've had several resignations. So we will still reduce one FTE and move that into a dean of student position. Okay? So the cost of that FTE for a teacher is roughly $100,000 when you consider benefits. The change from the teaching position to the dean of students is only a $15,000 increase. So did we sacrifice funds to to get that dean of students? No, we still saved money, about $80,000 by doing that, keeping it in-house. So we're not robbing Peter to pay Paul, and we're all in this together. So I look at the concern. I wish the chain of command would be followed, and someone would come to me and ask me what we did and why we did it, because I could easily explain it. We followed policy. I could show them where it is in policy. Now, in-district transfers are different. In-district transfers, anyone can request a transfer to those positions. That is still at the principal's discretion. They're still the ones, positions are posted. Usually, they're opened up internally and externally. Inside and outside, whatever you want to call it. It is truly the discretion of the principals if they interview a transfer candidate from another building. We always encourage them to do that, but they don't have to. We don't force our principals to accept a teacher from another building. It is their hiring committee that does that. Now, there's always confusion. Well, why is one person transferred and one person's not? We have to ask the hiring committee. How that works is you may have 5 people in district that is interested in a position at a school. We only can hire 1. That means there's 4 people that feel they were gypped somehow.
Yep.
That is the nature of hiring, and it's getting more challenging. The number of candidates we have are down significantly. We used to have 300 candidates for 5 open positions in our elementary. We don't have that anymore. The other thing that's a little frustrating, and I hope you don't mind my frustrations, is this idea that somehow we're overloaded with administrators. 2 things you need to know. Number 1 is the funding model pays for administrative support in every building, including vice principals. We have chosen over the years not to do that, and guess where the money goes? Positions that are not funded in the model. Counselors, nurses, those are not funded in the model. That comes out of those FTEs that are in place for administration. So we do both. That's the commitment that this board and this community's had, and will continue. I can't imagine what would happen if we said we're getting rid of nurses. That is part of the lawsuit, by the way. Those 2 positions, elementary counselors, which are not funded, and nurses, which are not funded. That's part of our argument, okay? Now, we also went to a full-time dean student at the high school. That's a 1 FTE increase, okay? We've been doing this for a while. You have a high school principal that is very experienced, that has a salary, being replaced by an assistant principal that doesn't have that experience. So there's a savings there, okay? Now you have an assistant principal coming in, 2nd year assistant principal. Savings, because we have a 9-10-year veteran in that position. The savings to that funded the separation of the teacher's salary to the administrative salary. No increase to our budget. And yet, we pick up administrative support for every student at the high school. Every student in our middle school has got additional administrative support, and now our largest elementary, 2nd largest school, has administrative support, requested by the principal. And did we steal money from the rest of the staff? No, we actually saved money. The part that people forget is the last 3 years, how many positions we've added at the elementary school to support behavior and attendance. At least 8. 2 of them are specifically behavior-trained individuals. These were positions originally hired by Art Esser funds, didn't cost us anything, and now are 100% reimbursed. We added those positions, and we didn't increase the bottom line of our district, specifically to deal with the behaviors that we were seeing. That's what we did first. The next thing we did was the need at our middle schools. We added a half-time dean of students at both schools. I'd like you to ask our middle school teachers how they feel about that addition, and they're going to be positive, I guarantee it. Now, we have an opportunity at our 2nd largest school, Uinta Meadows, to provide some administrative support and not put money off the table. It just was a no-brainer. We've added staff. There are more evaluations to do. The number of parent contacts that we make, it requires administrative support. We don't pull a classroom teacher out to make phone calls or to deal with the discipline of the student. We support that classroom teacher with administration. So it seems to be an ongoing issue that we have too much administration. Again, look at the state reports. We are underfunded, undersupported at our administrative level. 18 and a half FTE right now. Schools smaller than us have many more administrators than we have. I don't know why, but they do. It's necessary. When it's not necessary, those positions will go away. I hope when our numbers pop up and UNM Meadows needs an additional teacher, that's what's been said, that FTE will go back into the classroom. Hopefully, we've got at least 1 year to support behavior and attendance. So it is a big commitment, but hopefully you can see it's an overall package of what has been a board goal, and what some of you have been very critical about is the behaviors at our schools. So that's how we've chosen to solve it. Now, publicly, can I get out there and explain all those issues? I probably can to anyone who's willing to listen or follow the chain of command and come talk to me. So, because I haven't changed that position ever. So anyway, that's kind of where we are with hiring practices. It will always be a continuing issue because not everyone gets the position they seek. The other thing that was brought up is somehow we have individuals that are not appropriately certified. The way the law reads is you have to be certified or certifiable before we can pay you. Every one of our employees is certified. Now, they can be an exception authorization and have 3 years to get that degree, but they are certified by the state of Wyoming to perform the job they do. We have to do that or it jeopardizes our accreditation. So it's a competitive nature. We allowed every local candidate to interview that applied for the high school dean of students. It's competition. We had 12, I think.
Between the assistant principal and the dean of students, there were at least 12.
They all can't get the job. I guarantee it, again, this is not a personal position, but I did not get the first job I interviewed for. It took years. That's the nature of the business. Matter of fact, a good friend of mine that was in this job as assistant superintendent told me you can move up as administration as fast as you're willing to move. That was a friend, basically telling me, if you want a job in administration, you're going to have to go somewhere else. Pretty tough lesson, right? But guess what? He later hired me at Morgan, and I went somewhere else.
For a little while.
Yeah, for a little while. They would come back, thank goodness. So, hopefully that beats the dead horse of hiring practices.
Mr. Thomas, will you
Yes.
just clarify for everyone listening what the new Dean of Students at the elementary, is she just at UME? Is she through all 4 schools? What's
Well,
What
probably I shouldn't have, but I did. She's very talented. I'm excited for her abilities. One of the things I offered, because as I said, there is FTEs for assistant principals at the other elementaries, but it's based on the number of students. So the lowest FTE would be Clark because it's the smallest school. The largest would be UNM Meadows. So they don't have the possibility of funding assistant principals. So I offered and said, we have 3 schools that do not have assistants. And right now, the only people that can cover for them is Joe and Doug and myself. And we're not always available. So let's make the Dean of Students at UNM Meadows available to fill in when the principals are not there. They will not evaluate other schools unless asked. They can, but that wasn't part of the deal. Part of the deal was cover when the principals are not there. Another resource, hopefully. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that changed the idea that this was an in-building transfer. Okay, sorry, keep going, right? Okay, parent-teacher conferences, there was a discussion about the inequities between the elementary and the middle, or excuse me, elementary and the secondary. We did talk that the secondary principals were the ones who added those additional parent-teacher conferences. We also talked that the district provides comp time for those evening hours. We provide 12 hours of comp time for those evening hours. I think that's probably the right thing to do. We always haven't been able to do that, but we do that now. I kind of like the idea that at the secondary schools we have more opportunities for parents to come in and say, what do my kids need to do to be successful before grades come out in 3 weeks. Elementary, expectation has always been you contact every parent. Different expectation than what we see 612. I wish we could contact every parent 612. Probably not going to happen. That's why there's a difference. Requested by the principals, supported by the district. I'm the one who calendars the comp time. But anyway, that's where that is. So we had that discussion. I also pointed out, since those are developed by the principals, they need to talk to the principals if they have concerns about it. Okay. Professional development opportunities. We did talk that there are more professional opportunities than just PLCs, Marzano, and Learning Tree. There are funds in every building that the principals have discretion to send teachers to workshops. Over the years, we've kind of adopted the model that you should go as teams, not individuals. But I know I went to the National Middle School Conference by myself. It was a great experience. That's what the district did at that time. But remember, at that time, there were 24 different math programs, K-5, because we went to these workshops and did something different. So we have a guaranteed and viable curriculum that they need to follow, but we also want to support singletons. What I mean by that, if you're the only one who teaches that subject, then you wouldn't have it. But we encourage they go as teams. The money available, so we talked that. The last one, probably a little lengthier discussion, and I appreciate EEA's willingness to have this discussion with us. What I've seen is a change in attendance practices of our teachers, and it's concerning. The business office sees every leave request, and I sign every leave request. So I see every one, and there's some that's concerning. In our policies, and you can see it references policy GBCB, I think. It talks about GBCB, it talks about professional ethics, employee conduct, and there are two places in there that I think we need to define. The first one is excessive absences, and the second one is misrepresentation of leave. The unique nature of education, and one that we get thrown back in our face all the time, is we have a 185-day contract in June, July, and August. So 185 days. Right off the top, we allow 11 general leave days. You fill out our leave request. You don't have to tell us what you're doing. So we automatically, by policy, allow 11 days. Sick leave banks up to 180 days. And we are not going to mess with sick leave. If you are legitimately sick and you have a doctor's note, which is required after 3 days, by the way, FMLA, we're not going to mess with that. You need to take the days you need to get healthy. So that's not a part of the excessive absences. What's a part of the excessive absences is leave without pay for certified staff. It's unfortunate. At some point, it becomes excessive, and you are hurting your kids in your school, and you're hurting your fellow staff members. Best way to put it, right now, we don't have enough subs to cover most of the days of the week from probably January through the end of the school year. Just don't have enough. So guess who covers? The teachers that are gone. Other teachers. Thank goodness they're willing to do that. At the high school and the middle schools, they give up their planning to cover for other teachers because we don't have subs. So if there is such a thing as excessive absences, it's hurting our instructional program. My recommendation to the EEA and to the board is that we define, it's already in policy, excessive absences. Let's define what that means. I do believe it would have to be a continual abuse of the leave policy. Or to me, that means you go into leave without pay every year. That means you're not generating a sick leave bank to protect your own health and the health of your family, which is your call, but our call is the idea that we expect our teachers 185 days to be at their jobs. If there are things that they can move to the summer, they should, like vacations. Our leave policy was never to provide vacations during the school year. Maybe that has to be clarified. That's why we went to the blackout days, so you don't extend the holiday with the general leave. You can, but you lose your incentive. So anyway, it just needs to be looked at. The idea of misrepresentation of leave, if you get down to brass tacks, teachers are contracted for 185 days. A leave request is a signature that changes that contract each time they sign it. I believe it's a legal binding document. If you were lying on that document, as John would call it, it's fraud. And that needs to be dealt with. Do I want to be the absence ogre? No. But do we need to tighten our policies so we get the best we can from our teachers and our kids get the benefit of contract employees? Yes. If we have to clarify excessive absences and discipline has to occur, we've tried the carrot. The leave incentive, $1,000, is a carrot. Now maybe we need to tighten up with the stick. And we need to be tight because it's our principals that will have to administer those policies. And it probably won't be pleasant. The idea of tenure. Breach of contract is one reason that you can release a tenured teacher. So if our definition results in breach of contract, we'll still have to go through a hearing, but that's what's necessary, I believe. So in the next 3 months, we'll be working on the description of excessive absences. I did promise EEA that they would get a chance to look at those before the board do final approval. So that's kind of where we were with EEA. That was a long discussion, but I think it's an important one. What's left in the open is the insurance and possibly what do we do with first-year teachers? And that's a discussion that we'll continue to have with EEA.
Brian, I have a question on, just because I never used my days. So if you call in on the 11 days, you can take whatever you want and go wherever you want and nobody will ask questions, correct?
Except on the leave request, you have to identify if it's general or sick. And if you have general leave, it comes out of your bank first. The reason why we have to do that is to put it in the computer. It either goes in sick or general. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, my question is...
3 days. So you can take up to 3 days of general leave. On the 4th day, it's leave without pay.
Right. Now, what I'm asking is if you're sick, does it come out of your sick bank or does it come out of your 11 days?
It originally comes out of your 11 days.
But if you're sick, can it come out of your sick days instead of your 11 days?
Well, that was one of the reasons, the give and take of having 11 non-specific days is your leave comes out of there first. With the understanding you're going to potentially miss 11 days, but have the safety net of those sick days. Sick days can only be used for sick days. Now, what we work out, and it's even written in our policy, if I have appendicitis first 2 weeks of school, and I miss 10 days of school, I just use 10 out of my 11 general leave days.
Okay.
Do
Not
I
your
get any
sick
other
days
in the future? We allow them to work that out. We work that out with them. We always have.
Okay.
Again, the idea that you burned all your general leave days, and let's say you have a graduation the last day of school and you're going to be gone and you need a general leave day, we have always worked with our employees. That's not the concern. The concern is employees that use 11 days and then use another 11 days leave without pay and don't have a sick leave bank.
Well, I just wondered which bank they came out of because I never used mine, so.
Yeah, the policy requires that the 11 days are used first.
First, okay.
And it also states that if you use your 11 days, we'll work it out with sick leave.
Okay.
So. Any other questions? That's a lot. My recommendation is you approve the agreement that you see before you. We will work with EEA on the other 2 items and present those to you in June. Again, I appreciate the EEA, very positive group, always, and good representative of our staff. As I told them, I wish we could find more. 3 months working on the budget to get to $2,000 and $1 for support staff. That's pretty good work on John's part and the rest of the administration's part.
So just clarification on this before we vote on it as an action item. The additional topics discussed are not part of this being ratified.
No.
So just so everybody's clear on that through there. So it's just as far as the meet and confer end of it. So, okay. So with that, I need a motion to ratify the meet and confer agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Have a first and a second. Any discussion? None? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Chairman Peterson, just some information. I did share this with the staff via video, and I actually went through the percentages that this dollar figure represents. Big takeaway is when we talk about an ECA of 3.86%, that's on the model salary, not our salaries. The model salary starts at 39, ours starts at 51,400. 39,000, ours starts at 51,400. So we got 3.8% on the model salaries, but yet we were able to come pretty close to that percentage figure by these tallies. So we actually spent more of the money identified for professional staff and support staff in the ECA than actually was provided.
Hopefully we get that model fixed, huh?
What's that?
So hopefully we get that model fixed, so. Okay, next action item is we need to approve the technology purchases as identified in the documents.
Privacy
I'm on D.
compliance.
I told you, I'm getting tired. I checked one off too early. Okay, I need a motion to approve the student privacy compliance, first reading.
So moved.
Second.
I have a first and a second. Any discussion? None? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
It's your turn.
Now you're back. Okay. Mr. Dennis.
Chairman.
Just if you have questions more than anything else.
Oh, to approve the technology purchases? Okay, all right. He came up like he had something to,
Well,
a
if you can
statement.
answer questions about the SIPA requirement, that's
Okay.
an annual requirement that we have to approve.
Okay.
I won't make you answer questions.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to action item, approve technology purchases.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the presented technology purchases.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Perfect.
You're done.
Thank you. Actually, I've got the next one as well, if you have
Oh,
any
okay,
questions
well,
on that.
okay.
So
The excess equipment, I seen that list, my goodness.
there's
Where's that
a few
housed?
things. It's pilfered all throughout the schools and
Okay.
different places, so.
That's a pretty good list.
Yeah.
So I need an action item. I need to approve the excess of equipment and facilities. What's the, and facilities, or just on the facility side? Clarification on how that's typed. Approved excess of equipment and just the facilities department?
So, there, you'll see both technology items listed as well as some items from facilities that are listed. And so, overall, really quickly, you've got some projectors, you've got some access points. As I mentioned, we replaced all of our access points, and then our security cameras, as we did that security camera upgrade, we've replaced all of those. And so we need to access all of those so we can give that to our individual who does all of our recycling for that. And then the last items were some four-wheelers that we want to access. And we'll, what's that?
MacBooks?
Those MacBooks were so old, they're going to go to the trash.
Where do you recycle?
So there's a guy out of Ogden, actually the Clearfield area, who comes up about 3 times a year, and he picks them up.
How many you got there, 100 or so? A couple of?
A few hundred?
Well, what you really see is the access points. That's what a lot of those are. So he'll take all of that. He puts them in a big machine, crushes it, and then he gets the little bit of gold, silver, all of that out of there. So.
That's amazing.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the excess of equipment and through technology and through the facilities.
So moved.
Second that motion.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any discussions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Appreciate it, thanks.
Thank you.
So moving on to action item G, partnership with the Evanston Youth Club.
Mr. Peterson, we found the G that was not on the discussion items.
There it is.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
There it is.
I was gonna
So
say, I
we
don't
need
have
to-
a G.
It's not an action item. There's no action item G. So we should have modified our agenda. So anyway, so there is no G, so that was the last of it then, on our action items. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So with that, we will move on to the board roundtable. Any discussion?
I have something to say.
Okay.
I would like to give kudos to Horizon High School. Today, my husband and I, we deliver meals for seniors, and it runs from Yellow Creek up through by Smith's up into that area. And I saw Horizon students picking up garbage for quite a while, and they had signs that Horizon High School was doing it, and we honked every time we went by, and you know what? Those kids were very proud of what they were doing, and I could not believe the garbage that they picked up. So it was a community thing, it gave them pride, and I was very, very proud of those kids.
Anything else? I've got a couple of things, so people are going to be really mad. I told you I was going to stay here till 9.
Okay, we will.
You can. No, first off, Mr. Lester, thank you very much. I know we didn't have enough time to acknowledge you, and we really appreciate what you've meant to this community and what you've done for that high school. So thank you, and good luck with your endeavors as you move forward. So. The next thing, and I don't know if this is really a discussion or whatever, when CBRV came in, we've discussed in the past about the .2 mil going to them. When does that become an action item where we vote on that mill, if we're still going to go that route? Because we were talking about doing away with it, because my question to them was, where did that money go? 8.5 million to do modifications to...
We did not approve it last year. We did not pay anything to CBRV.
Okay, all right.
But we're still a member district.
Okay.
So the only way it'll be added back on is in the June board meeting, you ask me to put that as an agenda item, and we add it back on for the July board meeting.
Just part of his presentation, I think it might have been just cut and paste. He was still talking about that .2 of a mil.
You would still like us to...
I know, so, but I just want some clarification on there that as we move forward, that we're not approving that .2. Correct? Correct. All right, and then that'll come through in June.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, just nothing will come through.
Or nothing will be on there, so,
If you don't wanna do that.
yeah, so we're okay with that too, so, okay. All right, fantastic.
And if June's getting late, I mean, if there's an interest, John and I need to work on the budget.
I don't think, is there any interest, guys? Caleb looks like he's ready for bed, so.
We did it last year, we just keep doing it the same way we've done it.
Yep, okay. Sounds good to me. So with that being said, that was only a couple of minutes. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? I think not. Ayes have it, motion carries. Well, this is what happens. When I